dreaded flag, a vengeful sea. Be careful what you say. There's always someone listening. The Dutchman tossed on the sea. I swore and the devil heard me. Now we're doomed to sail the 7 seas for eternity. So yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. A sinister grin across his face said, you'll be doomed to this place. The devil heard my oath, shame of my boast. Oh, a ghostly ship from the depths, freedom from fear is the only gift of death. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. If you cast your eyes, you'll join us like those before. We're an omen of the ocean night. When you see the Flying Dutchman, it's too late for your soul. To the waters we gave now our breath. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must hold. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean wind blow.
I'm manifesting through the pain. I reach for you like a fading ghost, like a vapor of smoke. You look back but didn't see me. One day you'll notice something missing, and you'll turn to look for me, and I'll be gone. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. I'm manifesting through the pain, like a whisper lost in the rain. In the night, I'd fading like a ghost train. You have only yourself to blame. An empty carriage, a carnival of pain, with ghosts standing in the rain. My memory, your pain. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. I'm manifesting through the pain. In darkness, you'll scream my name, but no one will hear. It's just you and your fear. I'll never be near. You'll imagine me, my hands touching, my ghost dancing. Looking into my eyes, you'll see all your lies. You'll remember all the tears I cried. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. Just a memory, a fleeting memory, forever chasing me like a haunted cemetery. Forever you'll be missing me. Is it safe to fall asleep? Is it safe to dream? Eyes open to all these weird things. Alice knew what she had to do. Keep calm and journey on. A splendid time it could be, taking the high road blissfully. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping.
How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the Paranormal Roundtable. Oh boy. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. You know how it goes. That's why you're here. You're here because it's the real reality. Somebody challenged me on that the other day. Somebody actually told me that they wanted me to prove that what I talk about is the real reality. So they sent me a message, right? And this person was being very, what do you call that person? A skeptic, I guess. They're very skeptical. They don't want to believe that this is the real reality. And I said, well, you believe what you want. But we're in the real reality. When we go to sleep, that's a more real reality. One of the things that I know this, and I'm going to say this, and this may sound annoying to some people, and some people are going to jump for joy when I say it, but you know this. So we recorded with somebody this weekend. We recorded with a couple people. And one of them we recorded with, she said that when she is out of her body and goes to these other places, it is more of the real, it was more real than this. Mm-hmm. And what was it she said exactly? Anthony, you're with me. 1,000 times more real.
Yep. She felt very strongly that it was a lot more real than this reality.
And I agree, because having been to these other realities, and here's somebody that probably agree with me too, Scorpion right there, Gary. We're going to have him on eventually, but we have so many other people to record with right now, and he's going to talk about the City of Night and what goes on there, and we're going to get into a deep discussion about it. But I need you guys to listen to what I'm going to tell you. If you haven't joined the Patreon, join, because this Tuesday we're getting into Bigfoot in Colorado, right? And we're just going to keep going. We've gone to Oklahoma, Arkansas, we're New Mexico, Louisiana. Now we're going to Colorado. So we're doing state by state Bigfoot in different states. And I already got a couple really good ones from Colorado. Durango. I didn't realize Durango. What the hell they got? I was telling Aunt, I was like,
I've actually been there.
Yeah, you've been there. I was like, what the hell they got going on over there? Because we got and now we need an episode on chupacabras. But the problem with that is that everybody has seen a chupacabra. What I mean by that is, like, every time I talk about the Dogman encounter to anybody outside of this like reality we have, they're just like, "Oh, you mean like a chupacabra? I've seen one of those." And then there's always a different description. So there's like 8,000 chupacabra sightings a day going on, and apparently there's 180 million Cherokee people. I was shocked. I was talking to my Cherokee friend the other day. He's full blooded, and I told him, I said, I'll call him D. I said, D, what is going on with all these Cherokee people? He goes, they're not real Cherokee. I said, yeah, but they say they are, right? And don't get excited, Roach Camp, because we're not talking about you. No, okay, you're old news. Nobody gives a shit. What we're talking about is the people
We're talking about the 500 million other Cherokees.
people that are Cherokee.
Yes.
They claim that they're Cherokee.
And they're all white.
I will say this about the Roach Camp boy. At least he has a card with a booger on it that says he's a. I mean, I'm not even joking. I'm being serious. At least he can pull out a card that says, look, somebody back in my lineage hugged a tree or something and said that they were whatever the F it is that he, you know, at least he's got that. Because I argued with somebody the other day and they were like, I'm Cherokee. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
You're blonde haired and blue eyed, sir.
No, this person was black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's them too. The Blackakees.
It's the other end of the spectrum.
There are.
Yeah.
There's some Blackakees out there too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Cherokee. I'm like, and they were arguing tooth and nail. And I was like, no, you're not. I don't think you are. He says, well, you know, my grandmother was Chickasaw. And I said, that's very possible because the Chickasaw owned slaves.
Yeah.
And then he argued with me about it. And then like an hour went by and he came back and he was polite enough to come back and go, you know what? You're right. I looked into that.
Yeah, they were slavers.
He's like, ain't that some shit? I said, they were slavers. They actually fought for the South too. And so he kind of backed off on that one. I was like, whoa. Yeah, we were getting into some deep territory. Most people back off and they're like, hey man, sorry guy. I'm sorry about slavery and all this other bullshit. And they not me. I go hard in the paint. I didn't own slaves. I don't give a shit. But the Chickasaw did.
Well, about 98% of the South didn't own slaves either.
Yeah, most of them didn't. Just the vampires.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it was the same
people who are
who are in charge now.
Yeah. They're the ones who have everything.
They really are.
They
like I said that today, and they lost their shit on me, dude, about that. I said, well, aren't you one of those people that aren't you that way?
Don't you remember the tribe? And
they're like, no, I don't, you know, whatever. Don't lie. Just tell the truth. The best way to deal with anything is just be honest about it and just blurt it out. Because when you bottle it up and you hold it in and you're worried about everybody, and then there's all this worrying about people judging you. The best way to prove that you are not gender biased or racist is just be completely honest with everybody all the time. That's why I mostly don't call people African American. I mean, I'm like, he's a black dude. That's my friend. He's a Mexican dude. Oh, you know, Tony's an Asian dude. Right, let's take a look at Tony. What is Tony? What are you doing, dude?
Some kind of freakazoid.
Variation.
Christopher Walken? Is that what you're doing?
You know, I walk around and I see I'm very Asian.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was deadlifting at the gym, you know, and when you deadlift, you go like this, you know, and I squint a lot when I'm at the gym. And remember that guy? He thought I was Korean.
Yeah.
He said, "Aren't you like half Korean?" I said, "Dude, what the freaking?" Because no,
I'm just laughing a lot.
I'm just fat. You know,
I'm just a happy man.
At that time, I had gotten up there, was strong, but I was fat. And I look at pictures too, and I'm thinking, "Oh, that picture looks terrible. What can I do about that?" Well, you can move around more and eat less. That might solve the problem. Sounds complicated. Trust me, it's not. It's just moving around more and eating less. And that will literally make you not fat. So it's a creed that I've lived by for years. There's another one too that you can circumstantially you can lose weight too. It's called the no money, no food diet. I was on that one before. Well, I lost a ton of weight on that one.
Also known as the
your diets have always worked. I've never not seen your diets work. I mean, you gave me a diet to eat or to gain weight. It's a seafood diet.
Yeah. I have friends that have been on the seafood diet for years, and now they can't move around. And you're like, well, that's because you seafood and you eat it.
That's
and
my favorite diet.
That's your problem. That's not going to hurt you because you have a metabolism. Tony's getting a Buddha belly. You're starting to show that you're starting to be Buddhist. You're starting to show people your Buddhism.
Jeez, dude, is that? I mean, like I know you're pooching it out for comedic effect, but it actually kind of.
It's weird.
Dude, that's weird, dude.
How much I can get it to stick
I
out.
noticed
It looks like an alien is about to sprout out of his stomach, like a xenomorph.
yesterday I was
Charles.
watching him get food out of the fridge, and I was sitting at the table, and I was looking at Tony, and I was sitting there, and I was eating, and I was like, I'm looking at my food, like, what are we eating? Because this guy is fat, like his belly is sticking out. So Tony has been eating quite a bit because he's working out, you know. So, but he'll be fine because he's got that kind of body type. All he's got to do is just hit the gym really hard.
This all goes away in like 1 or 2 sessions.
You'll be fine. So I'm not worried about you.
It's just fuel.
But I was just kind of looking at what I was eating and thinking, is this, you know, because I was eating no carb tortillas. So hopefully that is helping. Because I was starting to gain a lot of weight back, and then I started losing it again. So thank God for that. I started noticing my shirts are fitting a little looser again, and so yeah, that's a good thing. We got to try to be healthy, but the best way to do that is to unplug Bill Gates. Probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the Rockefellers, man, and the Epstein files.
Oh, dude.
Good gosh, dude.
Everyone's in there.
Everybody. The Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking.
Useless.
Folks, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. You know how we have this show called The Random Files, and we've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. So I'm going to start doing a series of lectures, and I'm going to start with the Random Files, and I'm going to do them on the Epstein files just to get you caught up on a little bit of it so you'll understand what is going on. And I'm not talking about going over the history of the bullshit everybody's already talked about. Let's talk about the real reality and what I know, and watch what happens, okay? They'll kill me. I'm joking, folks. I'm joking. Not really. But seriously, you got to be careful, but not really. But you also got to be brave. And you got to, if we all stood together and started spitting, they would drown in an ocean of our spit. We outnumber these bastards like 100 million to 1. Like for every one of these little dickheads, you know, there's a bunch of us. So we really have to, like, you know, and then Bondi talking about, well, the whole system will collapse. Then let it collapse.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, but the Austrian painter did say this. He said the whole system, go listen to his whatever. I'm not telling you to go listen to the Nuremberg rallies. I'm talking about listen to what he said. He said the whole damn system is corrupted and rotted, and it needs the door kicked in, right? He said that like back in 1936. And then the door was kicked in, and then the Western powers ran over there as quick as they could to make sure that they put handcuffs on everybody. Because Germany, Japan, and Italy, and Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, all those countries, Finland, they were being bad guys, right? And the 400 and something thousand Spaniards that helped, and whoever was involved in helping to go against Britain and the United States and the pedos. They were the bad guys. And let me tell you something about Russia. Russia's not the bad guy. Russia got hijacked for a century by communism, which was another plague that these termites created. And we'll talk about all of that and more. We're going to get into that. We're going to start using the random files for what it's for, random files. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do lectures. And if you want to learn, I know we're not going to have as big an audience as we do at PRT because you're not going to get, you know, the same kind of sexy werewolf stories and things like that are, I don't want to call them sexy because that's offensive to some people that have had it happen. That, you know, these werewolves attack them or do whatever to terrorize them. I'm not going to say, oh, because Tony made a point the other day. He's like, we get excited when we get a really good story, but there are people who are traumatized by it. So we got to keep it in perspective. You know, we're like, damn, that's a good story. That's a good encounter, you know, but that's not really
in reality. No, it's not.
Because Tony, you want to explain what you said?
How, like, no matter how long we do this show, we're always looking at it from the perspective of like, oh, that story's like, oh yeah, heck yeah. Like we get excited basically over other people's like trauma. And I was like, that it's weird how like we'll even catch ourselves, but we still end up falling into that trap again because it is something that like enjoy doing, but we have to realize that like the stories people are telling us, they're actually very, traumatizing, and they're like often what people have nightmares about and stuff.
Yeah. And they've given us nightmares.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And there's
like,
been
this is my source of PTSD. So can you?
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
there's times when I've had to stop myself because I'm like, geez Louise. And then, I keep it in perspective, and Nellie, she keeps me grounded pretty good too. She's just like, look, remember, this is somebody's pain. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not a good story. It's not a fun thing. Tonight, what we're going to talk about tonight, once we get everybody in here, this is something I've been sitting on for a while, and I have a few of these, at least a half dozen come to mind of stories that I've been sitting on for a while because I've been waiting patiently to get other information to go along with what it is that we're. But this one, I know that I can't get a hold of this guy, but I remember this one, and I thought it would be time, since we did a recording the other day of his black-eyed kid encounter. Which, wait till you hear about that one. That one was freaking crazy, dude. And that one happened at a place where Tony, Anthony, and I, my brother, Scorpion, we all worked. At different times, we all worked there. And every one of us can attest to how damn haunted that place is. Like, it is really haunted. So Dragon, a guy that I worked with, now that's his real name, Dragon. And it's spelled like you would think, dragon. And he is Serbo-Croatic. And it's actually a name Serbians and Croatians use. But it's Dragon, and he actually, pretty tough guy, was in the military over there, and I knew him, for a while. And we ended up working together at another place. And over the course of like 2.5, 3 years that I knew him, he told me a lot of crazy stories. So tonight, he had a Facebook, but there's no response. I don't think he's used it in years. So I just said, you know what? I'm tired of trying to reach this guy. I don't know who to get. I had his ex-wife's information at one time because she worked with us too. She was Romanian, and she told me the last time that he had moved back in 2019, he had moved back and they lost touch. So he was living in Serbia. So interesting guy, Serbian dad, Croatian mother, right? So interesting guy, just knew a lot about the war over there. And when I did the Serbian werewolf, he actually was instrumental in helping me and my brother, because he talked to us about a lot of the stuff that he knew. That was around the last time I really talked to him. I think that was probably 2020, something like that. Because then right after that, I talked to his wife, and she said he had moved back right before the demic. So, anyways, I have his information. And I also found a bunch of stuff that I had typed up a long time ago, based on his stories and stuff. So, we're gonna get into it. He's got a lot of encounters. He saw a werewolf-like creature on the Serbian Croatian border years ago, like in the early 90s, when he's my age. So, he was a young guy, and he goes, man, I was drunk as hell, but I saw this thing. And he was one of those people, who he reminded me of? Fedor.
Oh, yeah.
I watched him get into a fight at this place we worked at when we were working at Ross. And he just, like, the guy put his hands up, and I was like, out, like going down an aisle. And I watched this happening. I didn't know what it was. He was my relief, and I didn't know he was coming in. And so I'm walking slowly, and I see a guy with like a wife beater on and all these tats and stuff. And he squares up with this dude that just contrasted him because he was wearing a wife beater, but he was black and he had like dreads. And that fight was over in like 2.3 seconds. And I was like, whoa, who's this guy? Who's the fighter, And as I got to the door, I was running at that point. He was out in the parking lot, and they said, hey, there's a fight going on. So I was walking at first when they squared up, and the guy looked like the black dude was really animated. I don't know what was going on. Y'all worked at that one too. Mm-hmm. It's right there on on 35.
Yeah.
And it was just like a calm. He was very calm. And I get out there, and he was just like standing there looking at the guy, and he's like, I think maybe he needs the EMS. Like, very calm. He's just like putting on his shirt, and I was like, what happened? He goes, basically, the guy was shoplifting, and they told him, they yelled outside, and I was coming out of the restroom or doing something in the back. And I watched him fight. It took about 2 seconds. He had no emotion. It was like just – so when I would work with the guy, he was just like – this is how he looked all the time. Like, look. He never got animated. Like when we talked about that douchebag that unalived the cat over at the psychopath from the retirement home, he was just like this guy. He looked like the Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
And nobody liked this dude, man. I liked him. I thought he was great, dude. I sit there and talk. He would talk to me for hours, man. He did not like people. By his own admission, he's just like, people suck, man. He's like, I like you, Wolf, but no emotion, And then one time, after work, because we were on a day shift at one point, we're at this place called Tracor, and we went and had a beer, and we sat there and we drank, dude, and shot pool. Of course, he killed me. I ran a nightclub for years, and I suck at billiards. Like anybody could whoop my ass at billiards.
Well,
and like I tried to play around with these guys one time when I was working this one security job called Vignette. It was a startup company because back then it was just the silicon and the startup boom, right? And I told these guys, I let you beat me, man. Now I'm going to put some big money down. And I was trying to play with these guys. And this one guy, he tells me straight up, man. He's like, "You're not good at pool." It's like, no, I'm not. I said, this is not going to be one of those. What was that movie about the pool where they played pool? Was it Tom Cruise or something? I don't remember. There was some movie where they played pool. Was it? What movie was that?
Wasn't Christopher Walken in that movie too?
I don't know.
There's one with Christopher Walken.
Is it? I don't know. They played pool, and I was just like, anybody can beat me at pool.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd play
I never cared for
with
it.
friends of mine and just.
I enjoy it.
But I had a friend who was a professional pool player, Max.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Max was awesome, and then his sons were amazing at it too. And I'm so freaking tired. I can't even remember Max's last name right now.
Linedecker.
Max Linedecker. He was a professional pool player. And there was a woman my friend Roger dated years ago from up in Buffalo. They called her the Black Widow. She was an Asian lady. That was his ex-girlfriend. He dated her. And so he was pretty good at pool. So we would go play, and my friend Doc would play with us. He died a few years ago. Those guys are both deceased, but both of them were good at pool. I was terrible. I've never been good at pool. My wife can play pool. I can't play pool. I lose. You'll beat me real easy at pool. So I've gotten lucky a couple times and won, once or twice I've won. But I'm not really it's not fun to me. I don't like pool. Never been nothing that I've been like, hey, but like Loki, he's like a master bowler. Like you go bowling with that dude, he'll just beat the crap. He'll beat the socks off you. I'm like, dude, I'm not over here. He was in bowling leagues, and stuff. And Loki, you think of Loki, he's a pretty tough guy, but he's a bowler, and he's good at it. There's just certain games that people
Just enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do enjoy pool. There's a pool table at one of the sites we work at.
Yeah. Like Bram, he was good at horseshoes.
That's yeah.
I mean,
all like kinds of like little things that you wouldn't expect.
you
people
got
just
friends that
enjoy.
can just whoop your ass and stuff. Be like, hey, you want to play? What is that game with the? I don't even know what it's called. The cornhole, whatever.
Cornhole, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin Brad will beat the shit out of me, and they want to bet. I'm like, I don't want to bet. You play this all the time. This is like, I'm not good at this. You're gonna whoop my ass. Or arm wrestling. I'm not good at arm wrestling. I'm right-handed, but I have a bum elbow. Like my elbow, like I've thrown too many damn right hooks, and I can still throw a right hook, but I'm just not good at arm wrestling with my right arm. But I'm good with my left arm. But nobody wants to left arm wrestle. They always want to use their right. And so it's like, whatever, man. Whatever. Everybody's got their talents, right? And I can't play a guitar. I can't play an instrument to save my life. My brothers can play. Anthony can play guitar. My other nephew can play guitar. But Anthony's half asleep over. He's like, damn, we got to record tonight. I don't know how we're going to do it.
I'm fine.
You don't look it.
He's drinking coffee too.
I'm drinking tea, but I'm tired, man. But I got to do 2 recordings tonight. When I get done, then I got to go to the gym, and after that, I can collapse and go to sleep. But we got 325 people in here, man. So just check that out. I'm going to be doing some work real soon here on the random files, and that's going to be probably not a weekly thing, but bi-weekly, and I'll be checking in every now and then and maybe doing a little 20, 30-minute little deals. And so that I can keep you abreast on economics, like buying gold, silver, things like that. And I'm going to use it to teach you history, teach you science, and I'm just going to use it as a teaching tool. We're going to talk about geopolitics. We're going to talk about the nature of reality, the real reality, like we do on Mondays on PRT. Tomorrow night, be here tomorrow night, where people come and they can tell their stories, their encounters, and we have a bunch of people that get in there. Now, look, I'm going to say something, and somebody got on to me about the Q the other day. A woman, okay, I'll call you K. That was very impolite of you to send me that. All right. That was very not nice what you did. Okay. I'm sorry that we couldn't get in there and let you in. We didn't let you in because we didn't know you were there. She said, it's probably because I'm a woman. Yes. Okay. Yes. I saw a woman's name and I ignored you. That was wrong. That is not what happened at all. That is not what happened at all. The problem was that she kept fading in and out, coming in and going out. You know, that's so. And I'm totally joking, man. I'm messing around. Now she, Kay, if you come back though this Monday, I'll let you in. And she knows I'm joking. I was kidding. You know, I told her I told her I was going to make that joke. She goes, no, I don't want people to dislike me. I was like, too late. It's funny. But yeah, I do have some fun. So in the last 2 days, I've gotten about 7 emails, and 2 of them were vampires. So one of my critics asked me how I'm able to get vampire stories. I don't know. Let's take a look. Probably because I've figured out that a lot of these encounters are vampiric. Well, I could be part of it. Maybe, just maybe that's part of it. I don't know. So here's one right here. And they said, hello, my name is M. Sorry, I'm really nervous about telling my story, but I did ask permission. And he told me I could. I don't want people to figure out it's me, so I'll just use M, the first letter of my first name. Although you might see my name connected to my email, I'm not telling anybody who you are. I started listening to your podcast on YouTube and really like it. I'm a new member. So my story may or may not seem significant. I don't know. So to start off, my whole life I've been told I'm an old soul. And then she just goes on and on and on and on. So there you have it right there. The reason that this person is able to send this story to us is because we believe it. Because just because somebody sends you a story don't mean it's true, but because we know that vampires exist. And other people are playing catch up now. And now they're trying to go, oh, well, here's a story about a vampire. Here's this, here's that, blah, 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 blah. But once you realize that the bulk of these demons, that they do vampiric things. And I'm the one that's been telling people now for the last 3 years, this is what's happening. And now everybody's talking about it. Everybody's on the train, right? But where were you when all these people were bringing you their encounters and you turned your back and just you poo-pooed it? It's okay to believe in an 8-foot-tall, wolf-headed killing machine, but a person that literally has real things and drinks blood and sucks people's energy and life, that's too much? How is that? I think that's the whole thing, is that these demons are, by their very nature, there's vampiric whole races of them. There's a show that I watched last night. I watched a little bit of it. It's called Wartime Stories or War Stories. I've said it before. It's one of like 3 channels I watch once. I watch them. I don't watch them religiously. I watch them sporadically because I don't have time. So if I have a little bit of time, I'll watch one of these. And I saw one that they were talking about gremlins. and they were talking about these creatures drinking blood. They were talking about another one they did. They were talking about like gnomes, but like dwarf-like diminutive creatures, and it was in the Middle East, and they drank blood, and they were basically like these black crawlers. Now, the black crawler is another thing. I'm going to be doing a show on chupacabras and on black crawlers real soon. Because pale crawlers, I didn't realize how many things can fit into the category of a black crawler. It's unbelievable. And these soldiers are coming back, in particular from Afghanistan, talking about entire villages that are inundated with these creatures when they were over there. Now that the Russians are coming out and saying a bunch of stuff. Now, I had a guy named Mikhail, and he is not to be confused with Mikhail, he's the one with the Boltongan. This guy is actually Russian. He's from 30 kilometers outside of Moscow. And the thing that he told me, and I met him because he sells supplements online. And we met these people one day, yeah. And they have a supplement deal. And they were like trying to tell me, hey, you know, if you want supplements, we can get them for cheap. And then they're real, legit, whatever. I'm not in the market to sell supplements right now. I've thought about it. But one of them reached out to me. His name is Mikhail, and he talked about these creatures. Apparently, his father, because he's young, he's like younger than Anthony, he's like 31 or something like that. His father was in the invasion of Afghanistan. And his unit got attacked by vampiric black creatures. And they weren't very big. They were like, the biggest were like 4 feet tall. So what the hell was that? So I talked to him Friday, and he was telling me about this, and I was just like, holy shit, dude. And I mean, he lives here he lives here in Pflugerville now, but I can't but imagine, like, dude, like, there is so much weird crap out there. And every time we go anywhere, I promise you, every time we go anywhere, we have stacks of business cards. We give them away. And we get a lot of hits. People will tell me, yeah, I've seen something like this. And there's a bunch of people who've seen Dogman. A buttload, dude. I'm telling you. And I don't think and they're not all from here. Like, they'll be from other places, but they'll, you know. So what I want to do is go downtown, like on 6th Street, and just print out like 1,000 more business cards. Mm-hmm. And early in the night, before they start shooting, stabbing, and killing everybody, just walk up and down the street and just hand them out to people, dude.
Yeah. And
I guarantee you will. If I was still running a club down there right now, we'd have a shit ton of more stories. Mm-hmm. Because that's where a lot of people, like, I've seen people go into those clubs and talk to them years ago. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a whole awakening coming. And we are doing work on this channel. We're doing it on the Random Files. We're going to be doing Random Files. And we got 2 episodes now. We did yesterday was the second one, right, for TCP?
Yeah.
True Crime Paranormal. Go check that out. True Crime Paranormal. Get your name in green, because this Thursday is a live stream, right?
Yep.
This Thursday we have a live stream.
Members only live stream. Members
only, and we're going to talk about Dogman. And then, so there's going to be a Thursday live stream about Dogman for only the members only. And then Friday we have the continuation with Sage Cooley. And Sage, man, he brought it, man.
About the heat.
Talking about Bigfoot, vampires, and vampire clans. Go check those episodes out with him, what he's talking about. You got to check out what he's been cooking. It's crazy. And then we're going to be dropping the next episode is Chris Watts. We're going to study what the hell went on with this maniac, dude. I mean, in my opinion, he's a maniac. And sad thing that his mommy and daddy are like, oh, he's a good kid, whatever. I don't think anybody that kills a family of 4 that was his family is a good kid.
Your own family, I don't think.
He didn't do nothing.
He didn't do nothing. That's my opinion. I just don't think that he's a good person. Eat shit. I mean, you horrifically unalived your wife and children. But we're going to talk about the demons and the weirdness. There's been paranormal teams that have gone into that house that they lived in and seen things and heard things, and there's EVPs, and we're going to play them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The EVP from the show last night on Ed Gein. I listened. I didn't catch it because I was working. I had a bunch of crap to do, but I caught it later on just to see how it came out, which I don't often do. But dude, I mean, just listening to it again just give me the chills because you hear that laugh on there.
Yeah.
And we talk about the demons and what possessed him, I think we were dealing with him. It was like a full-on possession, dude. Mama knows best, right? Right, Norman? Crazy. So anyway, True Crime Paranormal, that's on Saturdays. And then Wednesday, we do this. We're going to do this show tonight. We're going to continue it on Wednesday. Tuesday, we got Bigfoot and the Nature of Reality. And that's going to be at Colorado. We're going to pull out the map and show you some encounters. Estes Park, right? Durango. Different places where Bigfoot has been seen. And there's different types of Bigfoot out there running around. There are a ton of reports from Colorado. Colorado and Texas, I'm going to have to circle back on these because I'm going to circle back on all of them because there's so much just that we've left to meat on the bone. Go back and join the Patreon. $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 tier gives you a bigger, better swag bag after 2 months. And then every 6 months after that, you get an updated swag bag depending on your tier, right? Now, when we talked about the Bigfoot Nature of Reality, for New Mexico, there's 2 different places there. Okay, so don't get it twisted. There's one where Jesus Payan had his encounter. I don't know if you know Jesus Payan is an actor, friend of ours, and so we went in there and we talked about that particular place. And then there's another place that's the mountain range. We're talking about the place below Ruidoso. We were talking. God, what is the name of it? Trying to look it up real quick. Anyway, I can give you the name of it and check it out if you're interested in knowing about this. And Sage Cooley wants to do another one before we move on to Joel's encounters about the missing people up in Washington. What could be going on with that? And I traveled all over that area when I was a very young man. And I'm not going to lie, that Cooley area is dark and it's creepy. And I'm driving through there. I'm like, I got a quarter tank of gas. And everybody in Washington believes in Bigfoot. This was back in the 90s, man, the mid 90s. And people were like, yeah, Bigfoot's real. Bigfoot's real. And I'm like, y'all really believe in Bigfoot? They're like, yeah, I've seen it. Everybody's seen it. And some people will scare the hell out of you. They're like, it's dangerous. I'm like, and then they don't let you pump your own gas. They'll pump your gas, clean your windshield, and then tell you to be careful. Stay off the moors. And you're like, what? Stay. And they're like, Stan, quit scaring that guy. Let him go. I'm like, well, where are the moors, Stan? Where are they? I'll stay off of them.
Come back, Stan.
You're like Pee Wee Herman. Sure is spooky out here.
Yeah.
Like, dude. So what's it called?
Bear Creek.
Bear Creek, right? But there's an area there.
I mean, like we covered like around Alamo Gordo and then going east.
Yeah, but what is the name of the
Bear Creek?
No, there's a name of that area though, and it has the same name for the mountain range.
Oh, the Tularosa.
Tularosa Basin.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were from the Patreon, and you better be, you should be, so you can get to know something here. The Tularosa Basin and then the Tularosa Mountains. So next time we go back, we'll be doing Tularosa Mountain Range. We did Tularosa Basin. And so that was on Tuesday. If you join the Patreon, you can go back and watch those episodes. There's a whole library there on Patreon now. I suggest you join it because it may save your life. Is that like Corey Feldman with the comic book? Take this vampire comic, man. It may save your life. I need to do that. I need to get like a stack of cheap Bigfoot comics and just sit there with sunglasses at like a conference. And when somebody walks by, just just do like Dragon, no facial, no nothing. Take this, man. Could save your life. Like, radio.
You're gonna need this one day.
What is your channel called? Move along, sir. Just move along. I'm here to help people.
I'm a loner.
I'm a loner, man.
Me and Anthony could be dressed up in suits with like glasses.
Like
They just
Men in Black.
grab you and pull you out.
Just
Get
like
this
Men in
guy out of
Black.
here.
I'm handcuffed to both of y'all. I'm like, do you mind, suits? Trying to save people's lives with these Bigfoot comics. Okay. All right. So, anyways, folks, let's get started here. That's what's going on in the world of PRT. Join the group, Paranormal Roundtable group. Join the Paranormal Roundtable Community Health. It's holistic health and healing and advice and all kinds of stuff, testimonials. PRT prayer group. Also, we have the PRT page, which is also important. Check that out and join all kinds of stuff. And one of my favorite groups, Conspiracies, Mandela Effects, and more. That's ours. Go join it. I post stuff all the time. I did yesterday. You may not agree. Maybe you do. I don't know. I mean, lizard people? I don't know. Are they real? Yes. And then check out Paranormal Roundtable, the regular group there too. You won't be disappointed with that. So here's what we got. So I used to work with this guy. And like I said, I've tried to get back in touch with him. And I don't know where he's at or what he's doing these days. I haven't talked to him in a long time. But back in the early, I guess it was the mid 2000s, I worked with this guy. Early 2000s, I worked with him. And there is a pre-record that'll be coming out. It may end up on the Patreon. It may end up on the free members only or a free one. I don't know. It's up to these guys that they make those decisions. I let them handle that. But I recorded with a friend of mine, and we were talking about it off air in between recordings not too long ago, and it came up about this dude. And one of the things that he talked about, the black-eyed kids encounter. Now, that's going to come out. There were two people I knew that were security that did it. One was Elijah, and y'all have heard his story. And then the other one was Dragon. Weird thing. I was there, not when it happened, but like I was there working opposite of him, and I saw the camera. Like it was just you'll hear the episode. You got to check it out. So on the pre-record, and it's not a video, it's just an audio episode. So it's easy. You can listen to it at the gym or whatever you want to do on Spotify or here or whatever. We're gonna drop it, okay? But here's what happened. The guy had a lifetime of experiences that he told me about, and the reason I found out about it is because we worked together. And not the least of which, and there are a few people like that that'll come up, coming up pretty soon, because I've interviewed some of these people. I got back in touch with them, and one I ran into one day while I was picking up some food and just said, "Hey, what's up?" We reconnected. So that was cool. And he's got some encounters, and we got a ton of stories that are coming in, and I appreciate everybody that just keep pouring them in, right? Because not every story is show worthy, and not everybody can tell their encounter. Not everybody wants me to tell. A lot of people want to tell their encounter themselves, so we're backed up. We're trying to get it done, right? And if you don't think you can make it in and get a pre-record, then jump on the Monday show, and you can tell your story tomorrow night, right? So there's that. So here's what happened. We were working at a place down in South Austin. I don't know if we've said the name of it or haven't.
I think we have.
Anyway, it was called Garden Terrace. I don't give a shit. They're not our clients anymore anyway. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the place was completely haunted, in my opinion. And so the guy worked with me there with this other tech that worked there at night. And he had a black-eyed kids encounter. So when we started working together, that was when I first started working with Dragon. And I taught, what's going on?
I thought I heard.
I did too. What is that?
There's someone over there?
There's somebody, this place is weird. So he had a black-eyed kids encounter. So we talked about it. I didn't really know a whole lot about the black-eyed kids back then, and neither did he. He just knew what had happened to him. And he had a few run-ins with that same little individual, whatever it was. So when we started working together, I got a call from my boss, who I used to work for, this guy Jackson, and he worked security for a long time, and I worked with him at 4 different companies. And in fact, he was instrumental in helping me when I started my own company. He was just like, "Hey, take this account," and then he retired, and I ended up making a deal with them, and the rest is history. Now I have my own company. But what's crazy is I ended up with Dragon because he's tough guy, strong, whatever, former military in Serbia and Croatia. And so he was, obvious choice. They called me him. And there was another guy, you may or may not remember his name. His name was James. And he was this black dude who worked during the day with this other kid who I didn't really know him. I didn't know that guy. But I knew James, I knew Dragon, and I'd worked with these guys because I worked at that company for 8 years off and on. and I would work like, because back then you would keep your guard card active, because if you didn't work for so long or whatever, they would just kick you out of the system. So you had to keep going because it was a totally different system back then in those days, back in the 90s and the early 2000s. So I ended up, working at the club, but I would still work like maybe 2 or 3 times a month. And then they gave me, if they came up with a good site, I would work it maybe 3 or 4 days because you could get a lot of hours real quick. And then I would just work the club on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so I did that for a long time. And then I would do Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the club, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I'd work the opposite days on the other job. So that's what happened. So they called me up and they said, hey, they need some big, strong guys to go to work at this retirement home. And they wanted immediately. And so I was like, how much does it pay? And they're like, well, $2 more than normal. And you're going to get like a lot of hours because James is going to be working opposite of you. So one of y'all will have to work 16 hours a day. And I was like, put me in. So I get over there and Dragon's there. And I was like, oh, what's up, dude? So me and this guy, we worked together. Like I said, a lot of people didn't like him. He wasn't everybody's cup of tea. And the clients sometimes chafed because he was kind of just like this, just very, you know what I mean? He had, if you know anything about Serbo-Croatic people, they're like Russians. They really are, because they're literally Slovak, the same people. They really are like the same people. And to me, Dragon typified that kind of like very stoic, sort of like, stiff upper lip, just, and no emotion. Like I said, the fighter Fedor comes to mind. And I did see this guy fight one time when he was relieving me at Ross. And I saw him just beat up a guy real fast, like real quick, and then back off and let the guy he didn't continue to just beat the guy. Like some people just get into this animalistic mode. He was just very like matter of fact. Once I got you down, I'm done. I don't need to keep going. And we had to restrain somebody one time together when we were at the place down on William Cannon, and it didn't take 2 seconds. This is a big guy acting a fool. I just got behind him and got him in a rear naked choke, pulled him down, and then we got his arms behind his back real quick because he didn't play. And he just told the guy point blank, I don't want to hurt you. Don't make us hurt you. And the guy chilled the hell out. So we worked together very well. He liked me a lot. I liked him. We didn't have any issues, like never. We worked together. And I was one of the few people, me and James. Now, the reason you may remember James is because he knew Elijah. And he's one of the people that introduced me to Elijah, who was the guy that had the Black Eyed Kids experience. And James was former military. He was Army. He boxed in the Army. So he's a pretty tough guy. I sparred with him once or twice. Both him and Dragon had hands. They were pretty tough. And so I liked them. No nonsense. They didn't blow smoke up your ass and tell you legendary stories about how they kicked Satan's ass or anything like that. They just did their jobs. They were just private sector tough guys that didn't play around. So what ended up happening when I worked with him at this place, they said there's been a bad thing has happened there at the retirement home, and they'll fill you in on the details. So I get there, Dragon's out in the parking lot. We're both 30 minutes early. I always show up early on my details. And so we go in, and the lady that worked for, her name was Dorothy. Very, very nice lady. And she says, look, I need 2 of you during the day and then 2 of you at night. So y'all are going to start it right now tonight, 6 o'clock. We got there or 7 o'clock, whatever. We got there at 6:30. She's like, I leave typically at 8. She's like, but this is a retirement home. These people are paying to live here. This isn't a rest home. This isn't a nursing home where people just throw their loved ones away. No, this is a retirement community. And it was nice. They had a swimming pool. They had shuffleboard. They had a freaking stage where they had like people that would sing and stuff like that. And it was a pretty nice facility. And you guys worked at another one that was very similar to that, only about 5 or 6 miles away from that one.
Yeah.
So you guys know they were at that time in the same company or whatever, same people. But then they split up and became something else. So anyways, we're working at this place, and this is, you got to listen to what I'm telling you. This is crazy. So I found out real quick that this place had a psychopath that used to work there. And I don't know if I should say his name or not. We'll call him Jay, because that's, J.I. We'll call him J.I. So J.I. had a real piece of work, just really wanted to do, I'm an animal lover. I love dogs, cats, and pretty much anything. If anybody knows the show, they know I have a pig. I have all these pets. We all do. And so we have a ferret. We have freaking, a hamster. We have everything, you name it. And so this dude had gone up to the 4th floor of this facility and dropped a cat off of the 4th floor because he got into an argument supposedly with one of the residents. And these are elderly people toward the end of their lives. And I can tell you, not one of those elderly people there that I personally have a problem with. They were all very nice, sweet people. And they had 3 cats that would hang out that were like communal cats, put it that way. And they were allowed to have dogs. Some of them could have dogs. They had to be small. And if they were yappy, they might not be able to keep them. So they a couple of them did have dogs, and the dogs seemed to get along good with these cats, these community cats that they had there. They were all spayed, neutered, whatever, and they all had their own little individual names. Well, this dude took the cat to the 4th floor and decided to unalive it. And when he dropped it, it didn't land on its feet because the guy said cats always land on their feet. He goes, no, they don't. I'll prove it to you. And he went and did this in front of 4 residents who were elderly, begging him not to do it. And he thought it was funny, and he did it. How back then could you do something like that? Well, because it wasn't a felony. It was considered like destruction of property or some bull crap. He got like a class A misdemeanor or some bullshit. I don't remember what it was, but the guy was not allowed to come back onto the property. And then one of the people that he did this in front of had dementia, and another one of these people was scared to tell the staff what had happened. And so there was only one person that was a reliable witness, and that person and him had gotten into it multiple times. So he was kind of able to skirt around it. And from what I remember, the sorry ass bastard didn't even get in trouble for it. The bastard got away with it. So that was pretty terrible. So in and of itself, like, I'm there and I'm with Dragone. We started the shift. The next day, James comes in, and this other little skinny kid, which I don't know what he was going to do, but I never really got to know him. He was weird. He literally looked like that. Like, what is that?
Psycho.
Like, he looked like that naturally. I have to like push my face up to do that, but he just kind of looked like that. He had and you know, I worked with him on another side. He's not a fun, pleasant person to be around. I don't know. And so they complained. This guy's, the residents don't like him. He's weird. But supposedly he's ex-military and he could handle himself. So if J.I. came back, started anything, this dude could take care of it, right? Yeah, sure. Okay. But what happened, I was working that first night and they gave us a picture of the guy, and Dragone said he looks like Jeffrey Dahmer. So I kind of looked at him, and if you made Jeffrey Dahmer have dark hair and a long ponytail, he did kind of look like him. And I was looking at the picture and I was like, well, if Jeff Dahmer's double comes back, he's gonna get the beating of his life. So I'm not worried about this guy, But the people that lived there, they were very appreciative of us being there, and they were very nice to us. And we got to eat with them too. Like, if you showed up, like, they ate at 6 o'clock. My shift started at 7, but they'd always have me a tray there. But sometimes I would show up at 6 just so I could sit and eat with the residents. And they had a pretty cool like cafeteria and whatever, and they had good food. And they fed you. They feed you a tray, and you could eat what you wanted. They had like a galley with food and drinks. The women that worked there was mostly women. There was only one guy. They worked there. They were really cool. Dragone and me worked there for about a week together, and all of us were two people, during the day, 2 people at night. Then they said, hey, they want to cut back on the security. It was about a week and a half, maybe, together. And then they said, okay, so we're going to have one guy in the morning, day shift, and one guy at night. And so Dragone took 3 days. I took 4. And then we alternate. Oh, no, I started out with, because I was working at the club, I started out 3 days. He took 4. Then he asked me if I could take more so he could have more time off. So then I ended up doing 4. So James ended up being the guy during the day because I told Dorothy, I know James. I don't know this other guy. Because the guy that had done this with the cat had shown up in the parking lot. Because, and get this is where it gets really weird, right? He had a piece of property that was left there by him because he's a dumbass. And he said that he kept calling up there, right? And they called the police on this guy. And he told the police, look, they're keeping something that I have that's very valuable. And they said, what is it? They said, well, if you will escort me I know where it's at. I will go get it. He told the police this, right? And Anthony, Tony, y'all know the whole story. But remember what I said. The police told him that he was not allowed back on the property. He had a CTW. Now they call it a CTN, criminal trespass notification. It's criminal trespass warning back then. So if you get one of those and you show up on the property, it's a felony automatically. Your ass is grass. You're going to be in trouble. So what happens? This guy decides to show up at the mailbox that was out at the front when I was working there, and I walked out there and I see him, and he's got a hood on and sunglasses, and it's nighttime. He's acting like the Unabomber, and I'm like, what is this guy doing out here? Why is he? And he drives away. Well, I get the license plate number. I take it back in, and one of the ladies that worked there, Catherine, she told me, she says, yeah, that's his license plate number, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay. So we called the police, but he didn't come on the property. So there's nothing they could really do. But when the police officer came, he had dealt with this guy. And he says, look, this guy is very adamant that he has something here and he wants it. And technically, it would just be in y'all's best interest just to give it to him. And I said, well, I'm trying to work it out. I said, give it to him. Tell him I don't give a shit. What is it? Unless it's a murder weapon? He unalived a cat. It's not a good thing.
Get rid of this guy.
Yeah, pretty sure that he probably would do this to a person because, we'll get into it.
That's how they start.
This is what I told the officer. I said, look, man, we have no problem giving him what he wants. We will put it in the mailbox. And he said, well, somebody had told him that they already did, and it was a resident. And I was like, what? And I asked a lot of we had a little meeting, and most of the residents that could make it came, and I talked to the residents, and I said, hey, if anybody has anything that belongs to J.I., can y'all please give it to him so you can get him out of our hair, get rid of him. Hang on one second, folks. So I basically, I told J.I., I said, look, man, I had a short call with the phone, whatever, on with this guy. I said, why don't you just quit beating around the bush and just tell me where it's at? I personally would go get your item. And he wouldn't tell me where it was. And I said, I will take it to you. And I will just I will stand out there by the road. You can come and pick it up and you can. And he said, no dice. He goes, I'm not doing that. He made up a bunch of bullshit excuses. And he was disguising his voice and all that. I'm like, dude, you worked here for 3 months. It's not like people don't know what you look like. They don't know how your voice. You don't have to talk like you're Emperor Palpatine or whatever. Mm-hmm. I said, look, just stop playing around. Let me give you this item. And he says, no, because I don't want you having it. And I'm like, what is this? Is it a gun? No, I don't use guns. I said, well, is it a knife? He goes, no, I would never leave one of my knives there. I said, okay, well, then what is it? He goes, don't worry about it. He's like, I need to be allowed to go in there to retrieve it. I don't want anybody messing with it, looking at it or messing with it, blah, blah, blah.
That's so suspicious.
Yeah, it was so suspicious. So he told the police the same thing. And the police were like, well, you can tear the place up and try to find whatever it is he left here. But, and then the police told him, we can't really help you if you're not going to, whatever. So he was an uncooperative little bitch. So I was like, whatever, dude. I told him flat out, I said, I personally don't give a shit about your stuff. Well, I don't give a shit about you. He goes, I don't know what you look like. I'm like, oh, is that a threat? I'm scared. Oh, goody, whatever. I said, you have no idea how little I give a damn about I have no vested interest in your welfare. None. I don't care. I said, so if you show up again and you keep acting stupid, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Uh-huh. And so eventually he quit messing around. And we were there for several months, probably like 5 months or something like that. And so about a month goes by after we eventually started, we got into a routine and I just forgot about the guy. That was it. We'll get back into him in a minute. So what ends up happening, I'm working with Dragone because something had happened. So they called 2 people in to work again. So for 4 days, me and Dragone were working again together. And the first that first week and a half, almost I'd say first like I think it was like 12 days or 13 days, we worked together. So it was almost 2 weeks, not quite, under 2 weeks. They had us like one posted up in one spot, him and he was posted the other, and we didn't interact a whole lot other than radio. And then we would do rounds, right? So whenever we started working together the second time, because they had some kind of weird incident, and I don't think it was this JI guy. Get this, one of the residents, place was really weird. One of the residents saw what looked like the Grim Reaper walking down the hallway. Now, I found out that this was like a common occurrence. Multiple people passed away in that place, and every now and then people would see what they thought looked like a hooded figure with a skull. And I'm not even kidding. And I counted 7 different people who told me the stories about this. The ladies that worked there overnight, they were actually really cool. And one of them, I got my notes right here. Hang on one second.
Yeah, these areas, especially retirement homes, are exhausting because, like, I know they're really normally filled with a lot of bad energy. I mean, these ones in particular, I mean, I felt it a lot when you're walking through the hallways. Uh, it's just a very creepy area, and it's weird because, like, during the day, it doesn't really give that kind of energy. I know, like, there's a lot of animals in the area, like deer and squirrels and stuff, and they're always just all over the site, and they always are just around. And it was always one of my favorites because, like, back then when I was working there, I didn't have a car, so I would be sitting there waiting for someone to pick me up, and all these animals would come right up to you, and you could feed them right out of your hand. So, but during the night, it was like the exact opposite. It was like
You're talking about the other one.
yeah,
The
that's the
sister
only
property.
one I know. But
That's
I'm
the
saying
sister
in
property.
general.
No, you know the one down in William Cannon too.
Well, I mean, I haven't worked it though. That's why, man.
Yeah, you did.
I don't remember.
Garden Terrace?
I
You
don't
never worked. You just told me the other day you worked it like all the time. Like you worked it a lot.
I worked at a lot of terraces. I don't remember working garden.
You worked in Garden Terrace. In fact, the day that I picked up Nellie from the airport, you worked 24 hours straight there.
Oh,
2017, you were working it.
oh,
Yeah, because when we picked you up, dude, you had been there for 24 hours and you apologized to Nellie because you
because I
hadn't
stunk.
showered. You
Yeah,
hadn't showered because you worked an entire 24 hours. I picked you up from
Yeah.
from
no, I remember now.
you
yeah.
worked there. That's
Well,
weird
we
that
worked
you
a lot
said
of terraces, so I guess I just can't remember which ones are which.
that's
Exactly,
William
but
Cannon, dude.
I remember that one now.
There's a few of them that are pretty spooky and haunted, but this isn't a terrace I'm talking about. This is another one. So let's get back on track here.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know what he just rambled about, but that's whatever. He worked at Garden Terrace the day that I picked up Nellie from the airport back in 2017. I picked you up before that, and I had to drive you. You had to go with me because your car was busted up because you broke the Crown Vic. So, anyways, that's at another place. That's where I met Dragone. This place was a retirement home, not a nursing home. And I don't know why they called it nursing home ghost or whatever the hell that name is. It's not what this is. These are not nursing homes. That was a retirement home that became or a nursing home that became a homeless shelter. That's what he was working at. And then you worked at the other retirement home. I'm not gonna say the name of it because we still do it every once in a blue moon on fire watches. And that was the one that was right there in the woods.
Mhm.
We'll talk about that one. That's another creepy one. But this is a different one. And this one was like it had woods around it on one side, and then the other side was like open. And then there was like this other place next door to it. And we would get transients and stuff there, but it wasn't real bad. But so what ended up happening? Let me explain. I showed up because there was an incident and someone who passed away because it's a retirement home. These people are elderly and people pass away of natural causes. Well, someone claimed that they weren't able to breathe at night, and it was like 2 or 3 nights in a row. And then a person down the hall from them passed away, and one of the people that was next door to the person that couldn't breathe in their room said that they started having problems with it after that other person was passed away. And that person passed away in their sleep. And everybody was surprised because that person seemed like they were pretty healthy. they weren't in their 80s or anything. They were 70. And they were in pretty good health, it seemed like to me. But anyway, they passed away. And so everybody was kind of nervous and weirded out. And people were saying that they saw a person walking up and down the hallways with a cloak on. And I said, well, the security guard sometimes, we weren't wearing jackets that time. It was summertime. Security guard wears a black shirt, maybe. And they were like, no, it's not one of you guys. It is definitely some sort of figure that's, So that at that point, I sat in the pool area one night because they didn't have us doing separate whatever. So me and Dragon just kind of hung around and we walked the property together and we talked. And so we started talking and compared notes. And I had a couple weird things happen to me there. Okay. What we talked about, we were in the pool area and we were sitting there talking and he was telling me about a lot of weird stuff that had happened to him when he was living in Croatia. And he lived in Croatia and Serbia. So he said stuff that happened to him in Croatia right before the war. And when he was young, he saw something that looked like a freaking werewolf. And we compared notes. We're like, damn, dude, we both had that happen. But he was talking to me about what had happened to him in that place. And he said that he was very in tune with the spirit world. And then he said that, hold on one second. He said that one of the things he noticed about that place, he said, there's a lot of ghosts here. And this guy's a no-nonsense guy. This guy's like I said, after I worked at that place with him, like maybe a few months later, we worked at another place together and then still another where he relieved me. And that's when I saw him beat up that guy at Ross, the shoplifter that tried to assault him. And so I was sitting there, just kind of taken aback by this dude who had already shown me he was pretty tough because we had to literally arrest a guy at the other place we worked at together. And so we were sitting there talking and he was telling me about ghosts and about how he believed in them. And when his mother died, when he was little, he saw his mother's ghost. And something really creepy happened to him and his little brother when they were kids. We'll talk about that in a minute. So what ended up happening? He tells me, he says, when we first started working here, it's 4 floors, right? He goes, on the 3rd floor, he's like, when you do your rounds, we take the elevator up, then we walk down doing the fire escape, right? Me, I would do this because I wanted to exercise or whatever. So I would take the fire escape up, walk across, go all the way, fire escape down, then go across, go down, go across, go down, go across, go down. Right? That's what I did. He would just take the elevator. He says when he got into the elevator, he saw one of the residents get into the elevator with him. It was 1 a.m. About an hour later, that resident was pronounced deceased. And I remember when that person passed away because he was a nice guy. And I remember he was a British dude. There were 2 people from Britain that were in that place. There was a lady from Scotland whose dad was like a veterinarian or something. And she had all these stories and stuff. And that guy's dad was a veterinarian. That lady's dad was in World War II. She was talking about how when she was a child, like 7, 8 years old during the bombings of World War II. That's what she was talking about. So, and she was in that facility and she wasn't as old as some of the other people that were there, but she was in bad health. And I remember she passed away. So this was a guy who got into the elevator and he ended up dying like an hour later. Well, they found him deceased an hour later. What's weird about it was when he got off of the elevator, he says, I watched the guy walk and then turn and say, see ya. He goes, and when I turned back and I looked down the hallway, he was gone. But this was a living person, right? Supposedly. So he asked me the question. He says, do you think that person was deceased already? And I said, either they were deceased or they were out of their body. Be about to be, deceased. Mm-hmm. He says, well, I remember him telling me that part of it. The weird part is that when we were sitting there at the pool that day, and we were working together for a few days that night, he told me, he said, that guy told me, he goes, I'll see you around. Because he didn't tell me this part. And he said, I told him, okay, goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow. He says, no, you won't. And then the guy went to his room, but he turned around to, when the guy said that, he turned around to tell the guy, come on, don't talk like that. And the guy was gone. And he's like, damn, he went to his room quick. And these were long hallways. So he said it always bothered him. He wondered if maybe that guy was already, deceased or gonna be. So that was weird. But then there was another incident that Dragone had, and this was weird. And this happened to me. When he was coming out of one of the rooms, because some of these rooms, people had roommates or whatever. And, if you were willing to take a roommate, it was way cheaper. And, and so they had this kind of roommate deal or whatever. And he was coming out of the room because these two guys, they were constantly arguing. So eventually they had to be separated, and the families had to go, okay, I get it. Give him his own room because we'll pay more, whatever. And these people were arguing, and it was over the use of the toilet because one of them had incontinence, and it was burdening the other guy. And the guy said, man, I don't want to room with this dude, man. And so he went up there to deal with this situation. That guy that was complaining, he never bothered me. I never had any problems with him, nor did Dragone or James. The only problem he had was with a couple of the other residents, and he argued with two of the female nurse women that worked there. He was kind of unruly to them. And one of them, Catherine, told me that she thought that he was like, she didn't say he was chauvinistic, but she said that he was like combative with, and he didn't respect women's authority, right? He was just like, I don't care what this woman says, this B word, I'm not going to listen to her. You know what I mean? It was like that. He was just like, I really don't care. So, kind of had some issues with that. Like he had some issues with the way that he saw the world, I guess women weren't shouldn't be telling men what to do, that kind of person, you know what I mean? And so he got into it with some of the women there. So he had a problem, right? He had an attitude. Not with me, though, and not with Dragone. But, so Dragone says, I was coming out of his bedroom, he goes, and I see this thing crawling on the wall. And he says it was black. While he's describing it, I said, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't see it in the detail that he did. And then later, James confirmed it, too, that he had seen it in that same place on the third floor. Right around that area where this guy's room was. And then when they moved this guy to another room, the guy that had the attitude, the problems, whatever, the only person there that really had one, he reported somebody standing at the foot of his bed. And he complained to me that he thought that it was the daytime security guard. And I told him, I said, what does this guy look like? He said, well, he's all black. He's like, and so he said, because James was black, he goes, maybe I thought it was him because he's black. He's wearing a black uniform. And so he was telling me this, but then he told me, he goes, well, and it was at that time, it was almost Halloween. It was like October. He goes, but I think he was wearing a devil mask. This is what the guy told me. And I was like, listening to this, and I was like, he was wearing a devil mask? So I didn't put it in my notes. I didn't put it in the official report because I didn't want to get James in trouble. I've been working with James for years and 3 years, whatever. And so I told James, I said, hey, man, I don't know what this guy's talking about, but he said that he thought you were standing at the foot of his bed with a devil mask on and red eyes. Knowing what I know, and especially knowing what I know now, I'm going okay, I don't believe that, Now I know that, 100%. But at that time, I didn't know what the hell this guy was on. And I told James, I said, I didn't put it in the official report, but I gave it to Dorothy through the notes or whatever. And she was this really friendly, gregarious black lady. But she didn't take no shit either. And she says, yeah, Mr. I'm not going to say his name, Mr. P, we'll call him Mr. P. She's like, he's got an attitude about women, And I was like, well, I don't think that was one of our guards. She goes, I don't either. I think it's just him, whatever, because his meds are making him whatever. She's like, but, these people are actually paying to be here, right? So, you got to be careful. You can't just tell them F off, whatever. She's like, yeah, management here is just about done with him, though. We're thinking about asking his family to put him somewhere else. So get this. Dragone tells me, he says, I'm coming out of the room when him and the other roommate were separating, right? Because of the use of the toilet. And he goes, and I see this black thing crawl on the wall and then go up into the ceiling onto the 4th floor. Right there is where the terrace is upstairs and where Mr. J.I. had thrown the cat off of the thing, supposedly to prove a point. And then his excuse was, well, I didn't think that it would, I thought cats would land on their feet and blah, 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 and whatever. And then it was like, but besides that, I didn't even do it. Like, prove that I did it. You know, it was this whole bullshit, smarmy attitude thing. Yeah, he did. And when he talked to me briefly on the phone, he was like, oh, y'all can't even prove that I did that. I just was arguing about it. And I walked up with the cat, but I didn't do that. So maybe one of them did. You know, that was his whole spiel, right? But right there is where the guy, you know, did what he did. I know he did it, right? And he was just off camera, but he has the cat, and then he walks off camera, doesn't have the cat. And like I said, it wasn't even like, you know, like back then it was like a class A misdemeanor he got charged with or something like that, which I thought was way too low.
Lenient.
Yeah, he should have gotten his ass fried for that. But anyway, he goes off camera, and I noticed one of the people who didn't speak up and never said anything was Mr. P, right? We'll call him Mr. Pie, okay? Mr. Pie didn't say anything. So over the next few months, I got to know Mr. Pie, and I compared notes with James and Dragon. And Dragon says something is wrong with Mr. Pie. Like, he's bad wrong, you know? And I said, explain to me what you mean by this, like bad wrong. He says, Wolf, you know, like a man is a normal man. This guy is not a normal man. He's like, he's a very old man. He's like, but he moves around, like he moved around good, like he's a younger guy. I said, how old is he? 92. He goes, I look at his ID. He's a 92-year-old man. He walking around like maybe something 65, 70. And I'm like, well, maybe he was just in good shape, you know, like whatever. And he goes, no, this man is something wrong. He goes, he does not eat like other people. He's like, and he always drinking wine. Red wine in his bottle of his room. This is weird, right? And so I looked at Dragon and I was like, I looked him dead in his eye. His eyes were always just like, there's no emotion, you know. There's no lying in that guy. And he told me, he says, I know there are bad things here. Demon here? Bad things? He's like, but there is no danger here. He's like, I pray. I put on the water to everybody. I think he's talking about holy water. And he's telling me, he says, but Mr. Pie is not a normal man. He's like, he is no threat. He's old and wants to die. He wants to die. And I go, okay, so what do you think he is? And he blurted it out to me. He goes, I don't know. Maybe something. Something have on him like demon. He says, where I'm from, he's vampire. Tells me that. And I remember telling my brother, me and my brother talked about this. I said, you know where I'm working at? And my brother was working downtown like 6-7 days a week, bouncing at this one club, you know, the door guy. We were like 2 shifts passing in the night. And he tells me, he says, what do you think? I said, I don't know. But the guy is weird, but he's nice. I don't have a problem with him. He's been very respectful. And being around him didn't give me the creeps, right? And he would always be like, how are you doing, young man? And he'd comb his hair, whatever. He would always show up for breakfast, but he would just sit there and mess with a deck of cards. I thought that was weird. But he would go down for breakfast in the morning. And sometimes I know because I would have to stay an extra few hours because sometimes James could only work 8 hours or that other kid, Michael, could only work 8 hours. So I didn't have a problem staying late. Dragon did not do that. He was like, look, I can't do that, you know. And some of the people that worked with Dragon, not James, but the other guy, he didn't like Dragon. Dragon didn't like him. He didn't like the guy. He said, he's a wimp. Something happens. What's he going to do? He's right. He's just telling the truth. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't like it when somebody's just very like out in the open out front. And just
brutally honest. Yeah.
Brutally honest. Yeah. And the women up front, you know, he said that he didn't like the way that they were, that sometimes they were lazy. Not Dorothy or Catherine, but the younger girls, they were lazy and that there were people that needed their beds changed, sheets, whatever. They took their time and they just kind of milked things, and he ended up having to help some of the residents there. I understood that because I did too. And there was one lady that I actually talked to, her and this other guy, and well, there was actually three, and they would all go to this one room, and I would read to them at night. They liked Louis L'Amour, and they liked Elmer Kelton books, and I had a bunch of them, so I would bring them in, and I would read to them at night, for like a couple of hours. It's not going to hurt you, do a little something and go do your rounds. And then when they all get tired and go to the rooms, go to sleep. And I did this probably every night that I was there. After the first few nights I got to know, and I said, you know what, I have some books, and I asked the people in charge, can I read? They said, sure. Sometimes we get 4 or 5 people, sometimes we get 2 or 3. It just depends. But I would read to them. And so that third floor, I remember one time walking out of one of the rooms up there because I was helping because somebody had messed up their bed stuff, and they had 2 ladies working. One of them was lazy, wouldn't do her job. The other one, she asked me, can you help me? It's not my job. It's not my job. And Elroy, the maintenance guy, he told me, he's like, dude, there's some lazy people here, dude, for real, that don't want to do their job. Because they recruited Elroy to do work sometimes. And Elroy was just like, man, I'm not doing this. And so when we were upstairs, I come out of this room that's in between, because the guy that had the problem, Mr. Pye, he was in this room, with this guy named Emmanuel. And then he was in this, there was a room next door that was a woman, and then there was another room that was empty. He ended up going to that room. So I was in that middle room with a lady who had the accident. I helped them take the beds, bedding, whatever. And I felt bad. She was embarrassed, and she couldn't help it. She had a condition, and she's elderly, right? And that dude, Mr. Pye, comes out, and he says, that old bat, that's the problem, blah, blah, blah. That's why I don't want to be rooming with these people. Like I said, this guy's 92 years old. He talks and moves and acts perfectly like he's 70. I look up while he's griping or whatever, and I see something go across the wall and move real quick. What I saw looked almost like a cat, like if you saw like a panther, right? And it was walking on a wall, but its arms kind of moved lizard-like. And it was real
Like
quick.
they were like spread out, kind of flat.
Yeah, kind of like it was flattened out, and it had like arms instead of legs. And it was real quick. Like I saw it like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh, what the hell was that? And then it hit me like, like that's a shadow being or whatever. And I looked next to me, and Pye was looking up, and he's just like, he saw it. And then he just walks into his room, and I'm like,
it's weird. More weird stuff from the guy.
Here. He just kind of giggles. So a couple days later, Mr. Pye's in the, they're called the recreation room. And there's a couple of them. There's a smaller one, and like by the day room, there's a day room, and then there's a smaller one, then there's a secondary day room. It was a big place. And then down the hall from there's another rec room. And you could sit in there all night if you wanted to and just drink coffee and whatever. And it was where we kind of took our breaks. I like to kind of go back to the smaller rec room and just kind of sit there, in the dark and mess with the computer and just kind of be left alone for a little while and read. But a lot of people would go and hang out in that rec room. And sometimes I would go in there just because I needed to interact with the people there because I felt like a lot of them were lonely. I felt bad for them. So I was in there one time in the rec room. And this was, I guess, I'm trying to think of what year this was. 06. I think this 06 was the year that I was there. And this guy, he comes in, and I'm looking at my phone, and he asks me, he goes, if you want to do something besides look at that, electronic brick, let's play some cards. And I told him, okay. I looked at my watch. I said, I got a little bit of time, the clock, whatever. We had to do rounds by their clock, and I said, okay, I have to make my rounds in about 30 minutes. I said, so if you got 30 minutes, let's play, whatever. And he asked me what I wanted to play. I said, let's play gin rummy. And he knew every card game. And so he shuffled them and played, whatever. And I sat there and I played with him. And he started telling me about his life. And one of the things that stuck out to me, he said that everybody of all of his living relatives were now deceased. He said, everybody that I've ever loved or cared about in my entire world is gone. They're all deceased. He goes, and they have been for a very long time. He's like, so if I seem like I'm a mean, cynical bastard, I guess I am. And so I told him, I said, well, I don't think you are. I said, Mr. Pye, you're not that way to me. I said, you're not that way to James. You're not that way to Dragon, but you are that way to some of the staff here. He goes, because the staff here are a bunch of parasites. He said, they don't care about us and they don't give a shit. He goes, I know you saw what I saw. And at first, I kind of didn't know exactly what to say, because you have to maintain a certain level of professionalism too. I can't just go, yeah, I saw a spooky ghost. Yeah. He goes, you've seen ghosts in this place. And he's not lying. I did. There was a woman named Mrs. Cantrell who used to be there, and she passed away, and her ghost would go up into the fire escape because for whatever reason, I guess it was her way of exercise. She would walk up the fire escape on the south side and then smoke on the terrace up there. And yeah, so people were still hearing her. She didn't pass away when I was working there. It happened a couple years before I got there, but I did see her. Like, I saw a person in a nightgown a light blue nightgown, go out the door, like real quick. Kind of like when we were working over at Doubletree. People were seeing the little child or whatever, or they would hear it, this is what that was like. And so I saw it and I said, I'll be damned. And I walked right out behind her and I was like, she's not out here. And so I just kind of looked around and I was like, everybody called her Mrs. Can. I said, Mrs. Can? And I heard, get this, you know how, and she was always getting in trouble for this. She would flick her cigarette butts down to the one of those tall ash things down, they had like a tall pillar one, and she would miss. And I heard something like hit, and I looked down and there's a cigarette butt and it smelled like cigarette smoke. And I was like, ooh, that's creepy. But not to me really, because I'm used to spirits, right? So it wasn't a big deal to me. Like, it's not like some amazing, I've seen lots of apparitions. So I just like walked back inside and went downstairs. And so he goes, I know you've seen what I've seen. So I kind of played it off and I was like, he says, you've seen ghosts in here, haven't you? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, come on, Wolf, don't lie to me. And he's sitting there, not even looking, just shuffling. And he played cards so much. He was like, just, whatever. And so he started whooping my ass at it. I thought maybe he cheated or something. I don't know. And then he wanted to put some money on it. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not betting with you. I'm not doing that. And he told me, he says, I like you, Wolf. He goes, you're a genuine, real guy. He goes, but you're not being honest. I said, what do you mean? He goes, because I know you've seen it. You've seen the things in this place. And I told him, I said, look, I'm not being dishonest. I'm just not talking about it. He said, to me, that's dishonesty. When you know that something is real and I'm telling you, then I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I said, I haven't told any of the residents here what I saw, but I did see something crawl on the wall, and you saw it too. He goes, I know I did. He's like, and I see it all the time. He said, it don't bother me. I don't bother it. I said, yeah, that thing doesn't look very friendly. And he goes, it's not. He goes, and there's another one that walks down the hall and takes people's souls. Flat out told me that.
Same creature, like another apparition?
I guess it was something separate. He didn't distinguish it, but he said there was another one. So that's obviously, he didn't say there's a completely different entity, but that's what he said. So this is what happened. I was talking to Dragon and I said, yeah, so fast forward when me and Dragon are talking. I said, this guy's creepy. He is. I don't think he's a ancient vampire though, And still to this day, the verdict is out. I don't know, but Dragon says, I do. He said, there are people where I'm from, he goes, that live and live and live and live. How is this possible? There's a story that I'm got in the book that I'm writing about the vampires. And I'm like, there's the Austro-Hungarian Empire had to deal with a vampire outbreak in Serbia. I also had an episode called The Serbian Werewolf. And I had actually consulted with Dragon about it when we actually did that, me and my brother, because I worked with the guy. And he was a pretty tough guy. And so I asked him about it, because he claimed to have seen one of these things when he was young. He said, look, he goes, when I was a child, and this is what Dragon told me. He said, when I was a child, he said, there was a knock at my door. He's like, I was 6 years old. He said, so I go, maybe something fun, maybe good, right? He's like, not too many visitors. I live out in a small village in the middle of nowhere. He opens the door. He goes, and standing right before me was this man dressed all in black with a tall hat. He goes, he reaches down and he takes my little brother and he walks off. I was stunned. He goes, and I screamed and I cried and I screamed. He goes, my mother was bathing my other sibling. She comes downstairs with my other little brother is wet. And my little brother was taken away by this whatever. And he said, 2 years later, they found the remains of a child. And he said, that happened to me. My brother was 4. I was 6. I was in first grade. He said that happened to him when he was in, I think he said Croatia or whatever. But he said that it was just the guy knocked at the door. He opened the door. He said, and then he says, 20 years later, he's like, I'm 26 years old. I'm at a train station. And I see this man looking at a newspaper with a tall hat. And I walked over. He said, and I had issues. You know, my brother had been taken and they found the bones. And they said, this is your brother. My mom and dad were torn from this. You know, my dad became an alcoholic, ruined our lives. And then later his mother died when he was like 14 because she unalived herself. So this guy had a very sad, very pathetic life.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. So when he went to war, it didn't mean shit to him. It was just like whatever. So then he says, he goes, this thing, he goes, I go over there and I take the newspaper and I pull it down. He's like, and I look, and this not the guy, not the same guy. He goes, I remember this guy. Black eyes, all black, just weird, tall, very tall guy. He says, but strange thing happened. He goes, I get on the platform and the train stop. And I see the man right there. No hat, just long hair, very young looking man. He goes, this man, not aged at all. He said 21 years, maybe something. He looked at me. He's like, Wolf, this man, he's a vampire. I get off the platform. I go and I run toward this guy. I turn and I look. He's nowhere. All these people come and go. And as the doors close, I see him standing there looking at me, smiling,
Waving.
He started crying at that point. I'd never seen this guy. When he was like, there was no emotion in his face, but you could see not tears, but a tear come out of his eye. And I'm sitting there looking at this guy, and I'm like, holy shit. And he goes, I know these people. They're not people. Maybe I don't know what, but like Dracula, but something. What he was trying to say is that there are beings that are not. Yeah. So what are we dealing with? Right? And then he points like that. He goes, him upstairs. He's not the normal man. He said, I help him. Go to the room. He fell. He got up. 92. You touch his skin, it's cold. Like a dead person. Weird, to say the least. And I told him, I said, you touched him and his skin was cold? He said, yes. Cold like ice. He said, shake his hand. So I did. The next day I come in and I see him. He's always like combing his hair. He's always got his comb with him. He's very dapper. He's always dressed really nice. He's not going anywhere. I don't know why he's dressed like that. But anyways, I walk in and I shook the guy's hand and he turned and he kind of was like reluctant at first. I said, hey, how's it going? And his hand was ice cold. Now that could be poor circulation. But according to Dragon, he had his arm and he told him, like, don't touch me, like, get me, He said, I was trying to help him, And so the next day, I did the same thing. I tried to shake his hand with the other hand. And he goes, I don't like shaking hands. He tells me that. And then he kind of winks at me and he walks upstairs. Or he walks to the elevator and goes upstairs. Okay, fair enough. Then when I'm doing my reading, I'm reading to these different people. The Scottish lady, she was there, and she was talking. She always told me stories about the bombings of World War II that traumatized her when she was a small. Well, she wasn't a small child, but she was like 7, 8 years old when it started, and I guess she was 9 or 10 when it stopped. But it was the war, very traumatic thing for her. Hang on one second, folks. Don't go anywhere. Give me 2 seconds. All right, sorry about this work. So what ends up happening? I'm reading, and he comes in there and he knocks, and I never had him. And he's like, "Do you mind if I come in?" And I turn and I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I let him in the room. Didn't think twice about it, you know. And he comes in, he kind of looks around, and there's four of the people that are living there, and they're all sitting there, you know. And I'm reading Elmer Kelton. Elmer Kelton is really interesting. If you like books about the Old West, he does a lot about Texas and the Comanches and stuff. So it's good stuff. So, and I've read a bunch of Lewis Lamore books, probably 30, 40 of them, you know, just over the years, just that, Elmer Kelton. I don't like a lot of fiction, you know. Like I said, I read those. I've read some Star Wars and some Lord of the Rings. It does not a whole. I don't branch out a lot, you know. And like I said, I have to really be into it. So I end up like reading this story to this, you know, and this guy, he's sitting there listening to this, and he knows a whole lot about the subject, about the Native Americans and how they were and what, you know. So everybody gets ready, goes to bed, goes to sleep. It's almost 11 o'clock, and I had already done a round and come back and finished. Every time I come back, another one's asleep. So I leave. I walk out, and he calls to me. And this guy, he's always up at night. I never see this guy sleeping, hardly ever. It's weird. So then he's up, and he says, "Hey man, can you meet me down in the day room?" I said, "Sure." And so we go downstairs, and he had The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on
TV.
DVD. Yeah. So he wanted to watch it with me, and I said, "Well, I can watch it, but you know, like I said, I got to do my rounds, so I got to get up and move around, you know." And so we go downstairs to watch this movie, and he's talking to me, and he says, "Oh, that was a great time to be alive." And I kind of laughed. I go, "Yeah, well, neither one of us were alive back then." And he goes, "Hmm." That's all he did. Not enough as an indictment to go, "Okay, this guy was, you know, he's, you know." I thought it was odd. That's all that happened with me. He didn't go. I never did pop him as, you know, like, "You're busted," you know, whatever. But according to Dragon, he absolutely believed that this was what it was. And get this, that thing that was crawling around, you know, Dragon and James and Dorothy and Kathleen, the people that work there, the people that were in charge, they all had seen it. And it was always in and around his vicinity. This is a weird thing, dude. Yeah, always around him, and knowing what I know now about the other, it's kind of a weird thing. And then this guy has no living relatives, nobody, you know, whatever.
Visits him. No one.
hmm
Who was
And I
playing?
didn't start thinking about how weird it was until we started covering all of this vampire shit. Excuse my language. But now I'm really, you know, and I always kind of thought Dragon was like maybe just, it's sad what happened to him, like his brother, you know. That's horrible. But what if that's just what made him think? That's what I thought. Like he's reading way into it.
Mhm.
Especially somebody like me who's into the paranormal. I thought, you know, there's spirits there. Like there, I saw another ghost there too. It wasn't just that one. There was a guy that had passed away, and I was with Elroy. And I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, me and Elroy were down in the mechanical room, and he asked me to come down there and help him move something. There was some box or something and they're so understaffed there, dude. So I did pretty much whatever they. And that's a good thing. All the workers there love me because I would do anything to help any of them, and the people that lived there love me, and in turn the management loved me. And then I actually got to meet a couple of the people that were, the main people from the
In
corporation.
charge.
That yeah, and of course later on we ended up getting their sister property, and we had that off and on for years.
Mhm.
But it all kind of stemmed from that because I had a good relationship with everybody. And and this was before your time. You don't remember this.
No.
But anyway, this is crazy. Like, so we know about the other and about how these things, there's this entities that
Yeah.
that'll move around, from them. And so I asked him one day, and it was about 2 weeks before I said, the target date is the end of November. We're not going to be here. And he goes, "Oh, you're not going to be here for Christmas, right?" This guy, Mr. Pie. And I said, "No." I said, the end of November, that's it. We're going to be gone." And I said, "But, like we had the extra guard that one time for the fire watch." I said, "I may be back." And I was, because there were fire watches, because they were always having problems with their sprinkler system. So we were there every couple months on a fire watch, but it wasn't always me. So I told him, I said, "I might be back on a fire watch, whatever." And he tells me, he says, "I really like you." And here's a weird thing he tells me, get this. He says, you're a credit to your race." I never told this guy that I was white, Hispanic, anything at all. I don't even remember ever speaking Spanish from this guy. So it could have been like some racist old dude just saying, "Well, for a Mexican, you're okay." But he didn't know anything about me. And if you look at me, you might think that, you might know that, you might not. You might know that my mom is Hispanic and Native. You might not know that. You just look at me and think I'm just a white guy.
This guy, it seems to me like he does it purposely where he'll kind of leave things vague so that you're like, you can read into it to figure out his true intentions, but like you can't pinpoint exactly what he means by what he says. And like that just seems like another instance of it. Like he like gives off little cute clues like purposely, but nothing definite to where like you can just be like, "Oh, figured you out." Like you're leaving yourself exposed. Yeah, exactly.
So here's the thing, it gets weirder. Let me finish. Like I said, I've been needing to do this story for a while. And we debated about it like a few months ago. We debated about doing it on a pre-record, but we knew it would take up like probably more than we'd have to do a multiple episode pre-record. So here's what happens. I'm taking out the trash one night. Well, I'm not, but I'm with Dorothy's daughter who was working there. And she actually ended up working with y'all at the other place. You probably remember her. She was a really cool kid. And it was like she only worked like a few hours. She would come in. She's a hard worker. She'd come in like at 4 in the morning and work till 8 a.m. and then go to school all day in high school. She was like 17. And so she came in the morning and she would help do the trash and do all the stuff that needed to be done or whatever. And she only worked like 4 hours. But on the weekend, she would work like full shifts. And sometimes I would see her there with her mom. And so she came in and she would always be like, "Hey, Wolf, can you help me with trash?" I would help her. I would actually, the other guards wouldn't do it. That's why they didn't like Dragon, because he would not help anything. He's like, "I am security. I am not I'm not going to mop. I'm not going to sweep. I'll help if with the patient needs to be lifted up or something like that because you're understaffed. I'm not doing any of the other stuff." He just wouldn't do it. And that's just his personality. That's fine. I'm a different person. I didn't care. So I told her, I said, "No problem, kiddo. I'll help you." So I went out there and I was throwing out the trash with her big bins of trash, And I just put on gloves. I mean, just throw it, And she's like, "You're nice." She goes, "You help out, And she's like, "You're the only guard I like." I was like, "What about James?" She goes, "I don't know James that well, but I don't like Dragon." And I said, "Nobody likes Dragon. He's not." I said, "He's an acquired taste, Then she tells me, she goes, "He thinks that Mr. Pie is evil." And we were standing there and she was kind of leaning on the trash thing, whatever. And she was kind of looking down into the trash thing, not looking right at me. So I didn't really want to say anything. When someone stares at you, going to put you on the spot. But when they're not looking at you, you don't have to answer. So I'm just like, whatever. So I just turned around and was like, I don't want to get into that. A couple days later, I was out there taking out the trash because she was running late. And so Dorothy was there. She just said, "Hey, can you run the trash out or whatever?" She goes, "I'll make it up to you. I promise. I'll tell them to give you a couple extra hours on your pay, whatever." I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll do it. I have no problem. Your daughter's going to school and she, she's a good kid, whatever." And so I just took the trash out myself. And while I was out there taking out the trash, I told you about this. I saw a hooded figure walk around behind there's like these, all of our properties now, they all have this big, like privacy fence thing,
Mhm.
about 8 feet tall, you know, and the trash can is inside of it, right? The trash bin, the trash truck comes, pulls it up, part of it's open, right? So it was like that. But I saw something move, and it was like a hooded figure, but it was tall, like really tall, like probably 6'6", something like that. And I was like, "Well, what the hell is that?" I just thought it was a person. And my immediate thought was this dipshit that had thrown the cat because he was 6'4" or 6'5", something like that. Well, they said he was between 6'4" and 6'5", but this person was definitely at least 6'6". So I was thinking maybe he's wearing jack boots or something. I don't know. And so, at that time, I said, "Look," I said, I'm like, "I have all kinds of duty belt. I have all kinds of stuff that can hurt you. And I have things that'll cause you some serious pain. Let's not do that. Let's not go there." And this person, like, I think they threw a bottle, like they were behind there, but I didn't see it. But I heard glass break to my left, and I turned and I looked, and I was like, "What the heck?" So there was a glass broke on the other end of the parking lot because where the trash cans were, it was a big parking lot. It was really abnormally big. You're never going to have that many people.
Yeah, you're
there.
never gonna fill it up.
Yeah. Same thing at the other place. They had
Oh,
these
yeah.
humongous parking lots. So the one you worked at. So there was a glass that broke, and I turned and I look, and when I look back, I see somebody jump the fence, and I'm like, "Damn, that was quick." And I didn't figure out who it was. I never saw who it was, and I went back and looked at the cameras, and I was like, Who was this?" I don't know, but the same thing happened to Dragon. Like he said, "Dude, something like that happened to me." He's like, maybe this dude, he liked to say that word, maybe this dude did throw the bottle. He said, "I see something like that, but it looked like a man crawl behind trash can." I go back there, I pull out my baton, I beat him, he's like, wants to whoop his ass. And then the dude just like gets up. Dragon sees he's wearing all black. He can't see his face, and the guy just jumps. He goes down and jumps up over the fence. And that was kind of what I thought he did with me, because one minute I hear glass break, I look, and then this guy's on the top of the fence jumping over it. I don't think he climbed shit. I think he jumped up there. So, but I know what Dragon said, and I didn't see it. And I'm one of those people. I've had lots of encounters with a lot of weird shit, but if I don't really call it an encounter if I don't really see it. So I don't know if this guy was Spring Hill Jack or what he was, but we were convinced it was probably the guy that did the bad things, J.I., the one that threw the cat. So here's what ends up happening. The guy who Dragon thought was weird, let's just say it, thought it was a vampire or something weird, he ends up passing away. It's a weird thing, right? He goes on leave with a friend that he knew for years that came to get him. He takes off, but he takes a bunch of stuff with him, and then he passes away while he's gone. Weird, right?
Mhm.
Now,
He knew.
here's the thing. I didn't find this out until we were on a fire watch, and I did the fire watch in January of the next year. So of that next year, I was on a fire watch. I think it was 05 to 06. So it was like 06, January 06 or whatever. I went and I did that post. So I ended up going and doing the fire watch because it was a cold snap, and then there was a freeze, whatever. And I was there for a couple days. And so Dorothy tells me, she's like, "It's really weird the way Mr. Pye passed away. Like he left here to go with a friend, and then he passed away. And then we just get told, hey, he's gone, whatever." So they go into his room to go through some of the things that are left behind. And one of the things is in a box. It's closed up. and it's got an address on there. Like, I guess somebody had forgotten. She says, "Take a look at this." And I look, and there is a box that has the address of somebody. And guess whose address it was? Guess whose name it was? J.I., the guy that had thrown the cat.
Yep.
This is a true story.
This is what he was looking for, right?
This is weird. And so I thought about it, and I was like, where was this at? They said the box was inside of a vent, but the vent was open. Like he had put it in the vent, and the box was there. So this guy had whatever it was. Well, I'll tell you what was the book was. The book, I already told you what it was. It was a book inside of that box. It never got mailed. And they had nowhere to give it, and they weren't going to send it to this douchebag because there were no instructions when Mr. Pye passed away. So the weird thing was that box had a book, and inside the book was nothing but Satanism on steroids. Me personally, I didn't touch it. I didn't want to touch it. And Dorothy actually had gloves on when she touched it, and she was like, "Look at this." And she opened it, and as much as I wanted to look through and read it, I didn't. And Dorothy says, "Yeah, it's an interesting read. It's a look into the mind of a psychopath." This guy actually talks about strangulation and how to do it and how it feels. He doesn't go into detail about somebody he may have unalived or anything like that. No details that can link him to any kind of homicide. Like there's no, "Oh, well, I did this to so-and-so, or I was at this place at this time." Nothing. It just talks about what it feels like to unalive people. And it is, in the book, he is talking, like, according to Dorothy, and how he has learned so much from Mr. Pye. Yeah. He's like, yeah, he goes, "Mr. Pye is a great teacher. He's taught me so much about the dark arts and this and that and blah, blah, blah." Yeah. This really happened. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the book, and I'm just like, I got my hands behind my back. I'm like, I'm not going to touch this thing. And Dorothy was turning the pages, and I was just like, and the thing was old too. It looked like this thing had been written on papyrus or something. I'm not even joking. And I just was like, this is too weird, too freaky weird.
Well, he
So
was fanatical about getting it back because it's probably like all his teachings from that dude,
yeah.
Mr. Pye.
And he wasn't allowed to be on the property, but he wouldn't let anybody go and get it because I think he was afraid that people would look and see what it was.
Mhm.
So that's what his deal was. And I said, now it makes sense. He did. That's why he wanted that object, which was the box, the book. And I guess that Mr. Pye was in no hurry to give it back to him because it kind of like talks in the book about, if somebody reads that book, they're going to be like, "What were you teaching him? What, who are you?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh, well," he was just mum about it. And the guy who wrote the journal, the book, and right on the top of it's a goat-headed pentagram on there is what it was. Right on top of it. He wrote it like silver ink. And I'm just sitting there looking at this. I'm going like, right there, dude. I mean, this dude was obviously into some bad shit, and thought it was weird, to say the least. And so I don't know, like, if the police would have been accommodating and let him walk onto the property with them and got the book, whatever, we would have never, And I can honestly sit here and say I don't know about Mr. Pye. Apparently, he didn't have any living relatives, but whoever that was, his friend that came and got him, and then he passed away, and it was reported that he had died, and that was it. I don't know. So that's that. You know. And Dragon, we'll get into some other stuff with him. He's got some other stuff that he told me, we talked about, and he had some more opinions about this guy. But the guy was always nice to me. But that doesn't make him a nice guy. He one time told me something. It's weird. This guy, he told me something. He said, I'm too honest. And that's weird because I don't believe anybody can be too honest. I know they get you in trouble if you're too honest, but he said that will get you in trouble. And the kind of advice he was trying to give me was very worldly. And I told him, I said, I'm a follower of Christ. I don't believe in, this stuff he was trying to tell me. It's kind of like one of those people who's like, well, don't trust people because they're no good. And just take that like everybody you meet is probably not good. And I said, look, I agree to a degree, but I said, I'm also a follower of Christ. And he kind of recoiled at that. And
Of course you would.
yeah. So I don't know. You make up your own mind about this guy and who he was. We'll get into the place you worked at. We already talked about Garden Terrace, but we'll talk about the other place because Dorothy's daughter ended up working there, and we had a connection, so she ended up hiring us.
I definitely remember the place I worked at more because I think, like, besides just the weird vibe I felt, but there was a certain area in which I know there was a certain area in that place that give me the creeps.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about by the lunchroom,
by the front.
Yeah, by the lunchroom.
Yeah, so like I'm pretty sure I had something happen there. So like I'm excited to speak about that. But like Garden Terrace, this area, the only thing I can remember.
That's not where this happened, though.
What?
This is not Garden Terrace.
This is a sister property of the place I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, this is Garden Terrace is where I met Dragon.
Okay, that's where I was getting confused.
Yeah,
but
that's the one on William Cannon. That's the one that, back when it was a nursing home, my friend Roger worked there for a little while, and then that's where I met Dragon. That's where he had the black-eyed kid thing happen to him, whatever the hell it was, which we'll talk about on a pre-record. What you're talking about is a different place.
Oh, well, I mean, they kind of all give the same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like they give you this very creepy, like, I've worked at night for 10 years, going on 10 years now, of all kinds of properties, apartments, construction sites, way out in the middle of nowhere. But it's always these kind of properties that give me like the willies the most, because you're always walking. And like, there's just this sense of like oppression or like the depression in the air in those kind of properties. But specifically the sister property, the one I'm more familiar with, and the one that I think had that experience at, I remember that one in particular because like you would see shadows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like back then, like I wasn't as into the paranormal as I am now. So I think I wrote off a lot of stuff that I saw. But as you were talking about, we were discussing this stuff yesterday. I kind of kept thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know. Like there were definitely areas where, like, you would just see something up top while you're walking downwards, and then I remember specifically that area in the lunchroom where, like, it just gave me one of the worst. Like, can I just go ahead and say it?
Yeah,
in my experience, there's these two. So this place that we're talking about, right in front of the lunchroom, there's just these two mirrors on the walls, or like not really a two, but like a wall of mirrors that like were facing each other. And I remember walking past that, and every time I walked past that, it always gave me the creeps. But one time in particular, as I was doing that, it kept feeling like someone was walking behind me. So like I would like keep looking to the mirror to see if I could see anyone behind me. And as I was doing that, like I remember seeing something just real quickly just like move faster than I could see, like away from me. like it was trying to hide from the mirror. And I'll never forget it because like it felt like it was trying to walk up on me, and like because those mirrors were the way they were, like it didn't get, it couldn't like follow me. And being as like I was really young at the time, like that gave me some of the worst like just I remember like it just scared the crap out of me. um Besides that, like you seeing some shadows that like may have been possibly something, but because I wasn't into the paranormal, I tried not to focus on that. That was probably the worst thing that I can remember at that hotel, or not hotel, at that nursing home kind of area,
Retirement home.
retirement home. But that whole area, as I was mentioning earlier, like it was really weird because during the day, you like it had like this area like of life, and people were very kind of nice, and people like you didn't have that same kind of oppression. But once the lights turned off and no one else was in there, and you had to walk through those halls by yourself, you just felt creeped out like nobody's business, and you just did not like being around there. And it kind of felt like this aura of like of death was in the air, kind of. And it's hard to explain, but it just felt like this very like this deep sadness just walking around at night. And that's what was so confusing to me, because the juxtaposition of like during the day and during the night, how different it becomes. It's the same property. And like during the day, like I said, I was mentioning earlier, you could go out and you could see these deer and these squirrels and all these animals, and they were all like they would come up and you could feed them from your hand. Like I remember I had pictures of like a squirrel jumping in my lap, and I was feeding it little like biscuits or like whatever kind of food. But then I would work it at night, and I'm like, I hate this place. But then in the morning would come up and like, oh, I love like working here because of these animals. And the people there were normally very kind. Like so that's the kind of vibe that I kind of experienced in these kind of areas. And that's what made me kind of hate these retirement homes or like the terraces, because it was a sense of oppression that like is hard to explain. And I think for these retirement homes in particular, it's because like they're at these people that go there, they're at the end of their life, and oftentimes sometimes they're being forgotten. So like they can there's like this deep sadness that they carry within them that kind of seeps out into the environment. So that's what I remember about these areas. I think Mr. Pie was probably, if I had to speak about the story you told us tonight, like I think there was definitely something darker going on, and I think he probably enforced or like or reinforced whatever this dude Ji, who did what he did. But like I think whatever darkness that he had, he made it worse and made it almost an obsession, because the way he was acting about that book was not normal. And the way that he was like so obsessed with getting it back but not wanting to implicate Mr. Pie made me think like, oh, okay, this dude obviously fears this guy, but like he's obsessed with this dark stuff now. So like that makes me think like he might have been interested in it before and was probably just like a darker person, but once he met Mr. Pie, he became like entirely like deeply into it.
Well, yeah, and my thing with both of them, having dealt with the guy on the phone and seeing his picture and whatever, you could see these dark, soulless eyes. And Mr. Pie was there when the cat was unalive, but he denied having seen it. So that was weird, because there were supposedly 4 people there, and one was somebody that never came forward. Another person had dementia, and they were just always up there. And they eventually ended up having to go to a place where they could, because
cared for.
they didn't take care of people like that for But to be supposedly 92 years old and have the faculties that that guy did, and he didn't putter around like an old person. I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, definitely is.
And it kind of one of the things too. I've mentioned this place before on the show, and I've talked about it a little bit, you know. And of course, I've mentioned Dragon before. I think one of the things that gets me about this whole story is it's sad, because not just the story is sad, but like it's sad because I did make friends with a multitude of people there, and over the course of over 5 months, you know, I mean, we started there in like late June, and it was like June to July, July to August, August, September, September, October, October, November. So maybe 5 months, right? And a few people passed away while I was there, and there were new people that would come, you know, and I got along really well with all the elderly people there.
Yeah, they're always, you know, like
Yeah,
besides the
and at the
couple
other
that were,
place
like,
too.
grumpy.
I only worked a couple shifts over there where you were at, and it was the fire watches.
Yeah.
And I had to work the fire watch when Scorpion was on post doing the actual security detail, and I did the fire watch. And then there was only one shift where I worked the entire shift by myself over there. But I did have to when that bathroom flooded, I had to go and like sit in that area by the where the couches were,
Mhm.
by the dining room. And dude, I hated going by that freaking mirrors because I saw something in one of those mirrors, and I'll talk about that one day. I told you about it.
Because because you asked us, you asked me if like I had any experiences in that area, and those mirrors were the first thing that kind of popped up because like they always felt very, very wrong. Like I just did not like the way they were positioned.
Yeah. Then I had one of the people that worked there. You probably know him, Noble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Noble. And he came up, and he's an ex-military vet. And he's like, "It's spooky here, isn't it?" And I was like, you guys pay good money to live here. He goes, "Yeah, but at night," he goes, "I stay in my room." He's like, "I'd hate to be wandering around here." Noble goes, "It's like the damn Shining out here."
It's so,
He was a funny guy.
Yeah.
I just
it's perfect.
it's like the damn Shining out here or something. Come and play with me. He goes back to his room.
The thing was like that. It was like the dinner hall.
Yeah.
Too, and it was always like very big and wide, and it was it wasn't really separated, but like they had these big doors that kind of enclosed off this area.
And folks, this is the sister property of the one that I had worked at. You know, the one where the cat was unalived, and we ended up getting that because of my relationship with some of the people over there
that you cultivated from.
Yeah. And that's how one thing just leads to another. People don't understand that. You know, the problem with people, there was somebody today talking about karma and things like that. And, you know, my thought on it is this, you know, things go round and round, you know. You're going to come across things in your life, and you may not see the merit in it at all. And I'm not saying you should do things for the altruism should be a real thing. You do it just for the sake of doing it and doing it good and doing right. But, you know, if you don't have that in you to be that way, the world could still be a better place if you would just be polite enough to do things, because maybe you'll get something out of it down the road. And I hate that there are people that have to have this transactionary way. And you and I have talked about there are certain people that you have to deal with them that way because
we were just talking about
because they're that way, you know, and that's one of my relatives is that way. And Tony was talking about how, yeah, the guy's cool. I keep him at arm's length, but everything with that guy is transactional. He doesn't do anything out of the kindness of his heart. And that's unfortunate. But even if you're not a person who does the right thing just because it's the right thing to do, then at least look at it like down the road, you may have to have these relationships and friendships with people. So why be an asshole? Because, you know, if it wasn't for the work I put in over at that place, we would never have got the other one. And we ended up having that one for like a year.
Yeah, like people don't understand the value of connections, and they think like connections are just built like randomly when in fact they're cultivated slowly like a farm. or like a field, and one day you'll see the harvest, but like you still have to put in the work and that work is just being kind, courteous, understanding, and that's all you need to do. And then later on, you'll be able to reap the harvest of that, because you never know who might come into your life that will be the one to help you when you need it.
Well, and in my life, I've been very fortunate. I used to coach boxing and MMA, and I was always, I was an assistant coach for a long time at different places, and I got to coach teenagers, and some of these people were underprivileged kids, and so when I went over there and I wanted to coach, I just wanted a job, and I went there to get a job, and they're like, well, you're not going to get paid at first. We'll start you off as a coach, but because I said, well, I want to work. I want a job. I need to make some money. And they said, well, this isn't going to pay you right now, but you kind of apprentice under other people, and then eventually you can make money at it or whatever. And then once you get a name, like I'd eventually got a name, that people were like, I want to be able to do what he does. And so then but for a while there, I started volunteering and just helping out at these different places. And it was the best thing that ever happened, because even though I wasn't getting paid for it and I was barely living hand to mouth, I got to be able to help younger guys and the youth and some younger women too, and teach them a skill, like something that you can do to defend yourself, and so that was cool, and it was rewarding. And the same thing with elderly people. I got to work in a place where I got to be around elderly people, and I read to them and I helped them, and it got to where they would call me before they'd even help the staff.
That's one of the benefits I remember that, like, I kind of did enjoy working at the sister property, was because in the morning, like, they were always so kind and gracious, and it took like nothing to like just help them go about their day, but like they always repaid it with like just how they acted. So like, and then also like, like I said, that's why it was so weird, the juxtaposition of the two, the night and day, because like working there during the day felt so refreshing, but then like having to walk around that empty place at night felt so like, just felt so oppressive at times, because you felt that, like, you knew that people died there, and like there was this air of like these people that are here are like living out their last days. And then when, like in the morning, when like all you had to do was just be kind, help out, like when someone's walking, it takes nothing to just help them, go to the elevator, just lend them a hand or pull out a chair for them.
But it helps them immensely.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too about the place where you were at, one of the terraces, that was a whole nother ball of wax, because a lot of those people were good people. They were homeless people, and they put their name down on this roster, and eventually they get chosen to go and interview. And then if you pass the interview, then you get to get a place to live.
Yeah, most of the people
affordable housing,
trying to change their lives.
Yeah, and most of them would work, and they were there trying to change their lives, and they were doing something. There weren't a lot of drug addicts. There were a few. There were a few, and they were there, but there was a lot of people that were there trying to do better. And I can't tell you how many times, I brought people, things that they needed. Like they would ask me, hey, because I had a car, and sometimes it would be a pain in the ass to some of the guards. They'd be like, oh, they're always asking me to run errands. I'd be like, look, I can't leave the property while I'm here, but after I'm done or whatever, if I'm working tomorrow, I'll bring you, soap or cigarettes or whatever it is, because a lot of them didn't have vehicles.
Yeah, and they would have to walk to the gas. I remember that.
That was back when Uber was just starting to be a thing, so when I was working there at that time, so I would always like help them out, and then the managers would tell me, don't do that because they're going to depend on it. I said, no, I'm very upfront. If I can help you, I will. And there were a couple of them that I got to know, and I would give them a ride to the grocery store down to the HEB down the road, and I didn't care. There's no skin on my nose,
Because like what for you is going to be a 10, maybe 15-minute task, for them might be an all-day affair. So.
Yeah, because there was a short Hispanic lady she was Venezuelan at the one terrace, and she would always be walking down that hill, walking up that hill with those grocery bags. And so I told her straight up, I said, look, if you need a ride, if I'm around, if I'm here, just ask, and that was the first terrace that we had. That was the first one that William Cannon. And so I helped a lot of people there, and it was nice to be able to help them, and then working at the retirement home and then boxing with the youth and everything else, you get a different perspective, but you get to help people starting out in life. You get to help people who are down in life, and you get to help people that are at the end of their life. That's in and of itself something that I think there is no substitute for that.
Yeah, and
God puts that in your life for a reason.
I would definitely say so, because like at that time, like this sister property was one of the first place. It wasn't like the first place I worked, but it was one of the first places that I would go to work at. And I remember leaving my prom to go and work here. Like, you guys covered for me for like the first couple hours, or like 6 hours or whatever. And then I left my prom to go work there. But like I remember at the time I was kind of angry, because I was like, dang, I really wish I was able to, stay longer and just enjoy my time. But in the morning, like all these people came out, and like these old folks they came out, and like they had me eat breakfast with them, or then I would sit outside talking to them for like an hour or so. And I was like, it was a good night, overall. Like, even though it wasn't really what I wanted, it ended up being better, because I felt like it was nourishing my soul, kind of, instead of going out and just acting like a hooligan on my prom night. I decided to spend this time with these people.
Yeah. And some weird things happened at that property.
No doubt.
Weird things. Not the least of which is what Dorothy's daughter saw. And not to be confused with Dorothy Metcalf, who works for us. Her daughter actually works for us, but this is another person.
Different Dorothy.
Yeah, different Dorothy. She's black, but yeah. So what's crazy? She saw something really weird there one time at that other facility, and I had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my uncle worked there on the fire watch a couple times. Yeah, he thought it was a weird, creepy place. Trying to remember who all worked there for me. Let's see, 6. Geez, I'd say at least a dozen guards over the years worked at that place, doing either security or fire watches. And I'd say at least half of them had experiences in that place. Not the one we just talked about, but this one that we're going to talk about eventually. And there were deer everywhere out there, and they started being found unalived. And that was a whole nother weird thing. And we'll get into that and what people saw around there, because there was some weird stuff happening over there. I would say overall that place was a lot weirder and spookier than the one that I spent more time at. The one I spent 5 months at was not nearly as spooky as that one.
I mean, yeah.
But overall, none of them. I mean, because I Haunted Tower takes the cake, and luckily for me, that happened early on in my career. So just I always compare everything to that. Like, I built the LBJ building, the Littlefield building, all of them notoriously haunted. The Driscoll, I did a little bit of security there.
What is that, Battleship?
Oh,
Lexington.
Lexington. Yeah, I never did security there, but
You've been inside.
yeah. The thing that gets me though is the bank one is not called Bank One anymore, but it's right there on 5th and Lavaca. Look it up on a map, whatever. That building is haunted. Those two right there, they're haunted as shit. Like, I mean, every guard, I swear, I have a picture of an orb going in front of a guy named Elias. But I don't know because I mean it's a picture of him. I don't know if I should Urias, sorry. I don't know if I should show the picture. I guess I could block his face out because there's an orb. It's going right in front of him, dude. And
does he see it?
No, he's just walking in.
That's so weird.
No, he's just walking in. And a friend of mine, Slade, that worked there, took the picture because he was quitting. And he was going to work on a ranch, and so he was an old cowboy dude, not old, but he's my age. But he was like taking pictures of everybody, and Urias wouldn't sit for a picture And we were all working together for months. So he took the photo, and then that was the orb that was in there. And he gave me that photo. He said, "Dude, I got another one. If you this one's crazy."
Where are you working? Where there's a video of like a security cam video of a guy just walking, and I think he is either a security guard or like a worker there, and he just goes right into a wall.
Yeah,
And it turns out
That-
that
yep.
wall actually led to an older room.
that was at the haunted tower,
Yeah, that's probably
dude. And now that place doesn't even have the name now.
Oh.
And yeah, and so when we were at the clay pit, the guy just like kind of. It was when Nellie first came, and I took her to on the ghost tour, and it's pretty cool. They had like a hearse and everything. It's kind of gimmicky, but it's pretty cool. And I'm not bragging, but I think I could do a better ghost tour. I could take you to some haunted ass shit, and I can get you some places and tell the stories and everything. We ought to do that. I mean, we could probably make
do
a
it
good
better.
living doing
The
that.
ghost
'cause
tours, they just go to like the famously haunted
I could
place.
take you to places that have activity. You could
Yeah.
hear stuff. Just hit record. You'll hear some stuff. And so I was in there, and I was at the clay pit, and the guy on the ghost tour, or not the guy on the ghost, was a bartender, I think. He just kind of just nonchalantly said, "Yeah, this whole area is haunted, man. The building over there and the one on the corner." And I ended up, I told him, I said, "That one on the corners now, they tore it down and put something else. Willie Nelson used to own that building." And I remember when we did security for him, he owned that building. And I used to work for Lance Armstrong too. And and I'm telling you, these people, because Lance had the bike shop, his bike shop. We did security for him, and so yeah, these buildings, like you work with at these places, and some of these buildings, like Willie Nelson had bought that. They were going to renovate it and turn it into a place for homeless people, and it didn't work out because they couldn't get the permits. But eventually, they just tore it down. I think Willie sold it or whatever, but I remember just that night that I was there, and I felt like something fell into my truck. I don't know if I've told that story before, but then I could go on and on. But anyway, that guy at the clay pit, the Indian restaurant, he's like, "Yeah, that building there's haunted as hell." I was like, "Yeah, I used to work there, and the one on the corner. I've worked at these places. The Dog and Duck, very haunted, dude. The lady that worked, it's not there anymore. The lady that worked there, oh God, what was her name? Christine. She was a bartender, and she ended up. She was one of those, where somebody's throat's messed up. They have like she had throat cancer, and she had like a
little
where
a
you have
hole.
to you do that. So she was telling me about it, and she was talking about how the darts had, like, this guy, they were playing darts, and the darts had all moved, and there were 4 of them, and they went on, and it spelled his birthday, 1968. He went on his birthday. Because he's like, and he was some Scottish dude. And he's like from Scotland or something. He was like, "Oh, if there's ghosts here, tell me my birthday," And like, "No, nothing, not even a peep." And he throws the darts, and he goes up to the bar, and she points at the thing. She goes, "Those darts just moved." Nobody over there, and they walk over there, and he looks, and he's like plucking them out, and he's like, 1968. That was his birthday. But he made some smart ass comment. "Oh, it could have been 1896, or it could have been, 1986." And she goes, "Yeah, well, that's pretty crazy. You said you were born 1968, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, and there's your birthday." Because he said, "Tell me your birthday." That place was in between the haunted tower. It was in between the haunted tower and that building. I forgot that. And I'm so tired, and I can't think of the damn name of it. Scorpion, you're in the chat. You had weird shit happen to you there. What was that building called? Oh my gosh, I'm just so tired. I got to remember the name of it. And there was a little apartment complex there too, and I forgot the name of it. And it was called something like
Maze.
Nah, dude. It was from Monopoly. Like, I'm not even joking. No, it was one of the Monopoly properties. Like, it was called. I remember we called it the Monopoly Apartments. Travis House. There you go, Scorp. Thanks, man. So the Dog and Duck Pub was in between the haunted tower and Travis House. Both haunted as shit. I'm telling you, haunted as hell. Me and Scorp both saw a black dog go through the wall. And then what you were talking about at the haunted tower. There was a video that Zach and Donnell had showed me. Well, Donald, but everybody called him Donnell. His real name was Donnell, but everybody called him Donald. There's a black dude, and Zach was a blonde-haired white guy. And I used to work with these guys, and they're trying to scare me because they're trying to make like, hey, are you gonna have the stomach to work here? Because this place is haunted as hell. And I'm just like, you ain't gonna scare me, man. But I'm like 18, whatever. I was like, go ahead, put the video on. I don't give a shit. And I see a man in a top hat with the tassels, everything, It was crazy, dude. Like, I mean, he just like walked through the wall. And I've said this on the show before, man. I said it on that episode too, of those podcast episodes. I never seen shit like that in my life. And I was sitting there, I was like, whoa. And I was like, this is on VHS. I was like, how do you, like, could this be fake? I look over and Donnell's like, he's just sitting there. He's like, nah, dog, this is real, bro. You gonna be able to handle it? And I'm just like, him and Zach are both like big guys, like me. They weight lift and everything, So I wanted to fit in and be like, I'm brave. I'm not, dude. Hell no, dude. That place was too much, man. Too much. You go out into you leave the control room to go get like like they had this vending machine. You go out there to get like a tea or something, and you hear whistling, and you see faces on there. Now, I personally didn't see like a face on the ground, but other people had seen that, like a face. But I did see something move, like a circle, and I was like, "What is that?" So I didn't go over there and go look to see what it was. I just took my ass back in the thing because I didn't want to see that shit.
What was the flooring?
It was just like the white, like the top, like did you work the grill building? I don't think you worked the grill building. Did you work the LBJ building?
I don't remember working LBJ.
What about 512? Did you work that one? Okay, 512. It's like the flooring on there.
Okay.
Like 512. Yeah. Okay, so if you worked that one, or if you worked 1155, yeah, that's how the flooring was. It was like that. That's what it looked like. It was just, you just look at like basic squares, with
like not really tile because it was
but it was tile. It was like but they were little squares, but it was like not marble, but it was real. It was made very well,
like ceramic or something weird.
Yeah, and so they would come in, they would buff the floors and all that, and I would see weird stuff, dude. And one time I fell asleep, and then Zach would draw the weird shit he would see there, which was unnerving to say the least. And he drew this Malachi, Children of the Corn looking dude. Or not Malachi, what's that the short one? What was the guy's name from Children of the Corn? The little dude. They had the little hat that looked like an Amish kid or whatever. What was his name? The main guy. Damn, I'm trying to remember his name. He's like, he wants you too, Malachi. That little bastard. What was his name?
Come on, chat.
Trying to remember his name here. But anyway, somebody will tell me. Isaac, whatever. Isaac, whatever. That dude, man, like, okay, so he wore that weird hat, like, kind of looked like the dude from Poltergeist, but big. He looked like how the Hasidic Jews wear those hats, whatever. This guy was big, a big dude, right? And he was wearing like a jacket, but it was tattered and old and dirty. And the guy's teeth were just rotted out of his head. And he was like, and so I fell asleep one night in the control room. I was working 16 hours. I hated them 16-hour shifts. Well, I was exhausted. And you got to go up in there on an 8-hour shift. You got to be up in the tower at least 3 hours. And so you got to go up there 3, and then you got to go back up to do it 3 more later. And it was like, dude, and I hated
worst
that.
3 hours of the night.
Property manager, I hated it, man, because you're up there, very well insulated. I will say this: you could scream bloody murder, and somebody could bludgeon you, and nobody would know until, especially on the weekend, nobody's going to know until Monday, unless it's a holiday, and nobody's going to know. You're just going to be up in that building, dude. So it is unnerving. It's creepy. It's like a tomb in there. So you're up there, and so I came down, and I had just done my rounds, and I was very tired, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, like I heard like that, so I thought, oh, I'm busted. I opened my eyes. My first reaction was like, kind of disoriented, and I'm busted. I've been, the field captain's probably there looking at me.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
So open my eyes, and I see this. That's what I saw standing there. Was this dude with the Children of the Corn hat on. You know, it was just really disturbing. And he was just like looking at me, you know, and his hands were like, you know, damn, dude.
Cool. I
So
just got the goosebumps.
I wake up and I jump back. I'm like, oh, what the hell? And I jumped up and I was like, you know, ready to fight. I had like a pen in my hand, like, you know, I was like, what? What's going on? You know? And I saw it there, and it didn't just like real quick, like it was there for like 1, 2, 3, and it was gone. Like maybe 2, 3 seconds, it was there. So then the next week I come in and Zach was on vacation, and Zach had drawn, he was a really good artist. He drew a picture of what he claims that he saw in his dream. Like he went home, he's like, and I had a nightmare about this place, and this guy was chasing me everywhere. I said, what did it look like? He goes, turns it around real quick, and it's like this, you know, that charcoal. He would use the charcoal stuff to draw. It was that dude. And I said, dude, I was like, what the freaking hell? And, you know, it was like 2 or 3 of us. There was other kid, Frankie, that worked there, little Hispanic dude. He was like, what's going on? And I said, look at this picture. And he goes, oh, man, that's ugly, dude. What is that? And he goes, this is the guy that I saw. And Zach was just one of those very matter-of-fact people. He was like, this is what I saw in my dream. And I said, were you here asleep when it happened? Because everybody just, they'd be honest. Mm-hmm. Like, go in the bathroom, you can kick back, close the door, you can go sleep in there, and you won't be on. But I fell asleep because had been up for 12 hours already. Yeah. I had another 4 left, you know. And I was tired, so that's why I fell asleep in the control room outside area. You know, if you fall asleep, go into the bathroom, whatever. And I was a young dude, man. You know, it was only like the second post I ever had for that company. First was like a recycling plant, which was weird as hell. And I see that spot all the time when I drive down, going toward one of our accounts off the airport. And now it's just like there's nothing there. It's just empty lot. Nobody's doing anything with it. Haven't for 20 years. But that place was creepy. But this place was horrible, man. I'm telling you, I would rather be out there in that junkyard than out there. But so in that building. So I asked him about it. I said, "Did you fall asleep here?" He says, "No. I went home and went to sleep, and that's what I saw in my dream. It was chasing me all over the building." Oh. Yeah. That's so many weird things happening. I talked about it on the show, The Haunted Tower. It was something that I believe mimicked what I had seen when I was 15, which was this werewolf-looking thing, you know. But, you know. Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being here. Let's do a giveaway. Yeah. I got to run. I got to do a couple of hours of recording here so we can bring you some more great content. That's right. That's absolutely right, Keith. Jesus Christ said we have power over them. So we have a new song. Now, the reason that we're going to play this song tonight is because it's a tribute song to the victims of Chris Watts, and you'll see when you tune in to True Crime Paranormal on Saturday, this coming Saturday. It'll be the first episode of a 3-part series about the Chris Watts murders. He's a real piece of work, man, let me tell you. And so we break it down, and we go over it, and I'm going to tell you the demonic influence, and I'm going to give you the names of who these beings are, who I think they are, whatever. But we're going to lay the foundation, the groundwork for it first, and then we're going to get into it. So let me get that set up real quick. Give me 1 second. So anyways, this is a song that was made by Nelly. It's a really pretty song, and I'd like for you guys to listen to it. And it's going to be it was made in honor of his family. But what he did to his family was horrible. But yeah, we covered that. We already did all the work on it, but it's going to be for the next 3 weeks. And then after that, we're going to be doing, I think Samuel Little killed over 100 women. I mean, it's rough stuff. I mean, but we get into the what these demons do and what they've done and how they do what they do. Maybe, just maybe it'll help some people when you see these signs. You'll know what to look for and know how to, combat it. Be wary of this stuff. So, do we have it? Hang on. So, anyways, let's do the giveaway. Whoever wants to win a hoodie, tell me you haven't won. If you haven't won, you'll get first dibs. I take it you haven't gotten your stuff, Missy. Still, you haven't gotten your stuff. Why is that? I don't understand, because there's a lot of people already got their stuff. One second. I got to use the chat on my phone here so I can find it, because Anthony's doing a bunch of stuff for them.
Also, guys, if you live outside of the U.S., we're having a little trouble. It's becoming too expensive to ship outside of the U.S. right
Yeah,
now.
we've never really been able to do that. So,
Yeah.
if you are if you are from out of the country, we're going to try and honor our agreement. But remember, we can maybe send you one package, and that's it. We can't do it on the giveaway at all. But we will try to do what we can for you on the Patreon, because it's like $300 to ship to Australia, $200 or $300 shipped to the UK, and it shouldn't be that much. It's ridiculous.
Even to Canada is expensive.
Canada is super expensive. So Doc, I know you've won before, but have you gotten a hoodie? Well, you don't really need a hoodie. You live in Florida. I'll send you a shirt. So Doc, if you want, we'll send you a shirt. Mike Taylor says, I want to win a hoodie. Mike, have you won before? Either way, we got to get this going here. I can pick a couple people, and I am way past due. I got to get out of here. If you haven't won, And if you've won before, put the banner up. Where's it at? Tell them what they got to do.
If you won before, or if you win tonight, go ahead and send your information to that email you'll see scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Make sure to put your address, your name, the shirt size that you want, or if you want a specific hoodie or the like colors, you can also send that in there and put all that information in there, as well as would it help to send the day they win?
I mean, is that what we're doing?
We haven't done it
I don't
before.
deal with that. Maddie does, so I don't know.
But anyway, just remember, it's your name, your address, your shirt size, or if you want something specific, then go ahead and send all that information in, and we'll try our best to get it out to you.
So yeah, that's what we're doing here. That's how we get it done. Just send your information, everything you can, and if you haven't won before, let me know, and I'll help you. We can figure out. But if you haven't gotten your stuff, let us know. Because people always say, "Well, I haven't gotten my stuff, whatever." But you don't tell me when you got. I need to know how long ago it was if you haven't gotten it. And some people will say, "Yeah, I got mine." That helps too to let us know that you got it.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to worry about.
Also, Patreon members, if you don't mind, please keep on top of when you're supposed to be getting your packages. Like, for instance, if you received your first one and then a certain amount of time has passed and you're supposed to receive the second one, go ahead and send us another message so that we know. We'll try our best to keep on top of it, but it helps if you're able to do it yourself.
Yeah, Doc, it's up to you. If you want a hoodie, I can send it to you. But if you're down in Florida, I don't think they're pretty warm. I don't think you're going to be able to wear it very much. So I figured you'd probably get more use out of a shirt. But it's up to you. Just send us your information and just tell us what you want. And since it's your birthday, we'll send it to you. But I need somebody who hasn't won. Is there somebody who hasn't won?
Fortunate Son says he hasn't won.
Okay, well then we pick you. You win. You want a hoodie? Tell me, hey, I haven't won. I want a hoodie. Fortunate Son, you got it. You're fortunate today. Law Morgan says, I need a hoodie to live. Law, have you won a hoodie before? If you haven't, I'll send you one too. Bluestone, I've talked to you many times about this already. 8 months into the Patreon and I'm due. What is going on with that? Why is this person not getting their stuff?
That would be a second package that they's coming up for. Second swag bag.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's the case. And as long as you've gotten your first one, if you're 8 months and you're due, then you'll get your second swag. We have no problem sending that to you. Hey, thank you. There's a donation. We haven't gotten but 3 today. Wait, 1, 2. Only got 4 donations today. Thank you, Sugar Bridges. I hadn't seen you in forever. But yeah, I appreciate it. All right, so let's get this song played here. Bluestone said they only got a shirt. Well, I don't know what your tier is though. What your tier is for your swag on because some people will be on the Patreon and they'll be like, well, I didn't get a shirt, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. You don't get a shirt unless you're $30 on the tier
each tier has their own.
Yeah, the first 2 are just books, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first 2, yeah. So I mean, you get the shows, access to all of that, and then you get a shirt on the $30 tier. So if you're due for another swag bag, and you're only like $10, $20 tier, then you're going to get more books, But that's fine. Some people love books, but you'll get stickers and keychains and all that. But if you want a shirt, you know, and then a hoodie and hat and all that stuff, it goes up, like, you know. So, and it's a great way to help support the show, and you get more content. You get to watch extra content every Tuesday. And there's a whole library of past pre-records and lives. So, anyways, let's play the song. Thank you for that donation, Pogo.
Sitting here writing letters addressed to heaven. I pray you get them soon. Tears stain hearts and memories. I pray the wind our love carries. Heaven feels so far away, and goodbye is so hard to say. Why did it have to be this way? A lifetime without you is so hard to do. Missing you. You're walking with the angels now, precious footsteps in heaven, eternity with angel wings. I can hear your voices sing. Heaven feels so far away, and goodbye is so hard to say. Why did it have to be this way? A lifetime without you is so hard to do. Missing you. Let your hair down in heaven, beautiful girl. Where the grass is forever green and the angels sing. Two little girls with stars in their eyes now laugh and play in paradise. Precious baby boy, heaven's joy. Let the angels sing you a lullaby. I know in heaven you'll never cry. Heaven feels so far away, and goodbye is so hard to say. Why did it have to be this way? A lifetime without you
That's the song, the tribute song that Chris Watts, he unalived his whole family over what? The 6-week affair. Why do things like this happen? Why do you think that things like this happen? I know my theories. I know why I think they happen. Because this world is run by evil people, and they dominate this world. Don't let them dominate you. Tune in to True Crime Paranormal every Saturday, and I'm going to bring it to you with my co-hosts, Rain, Maddie, and Nellie, Anthony. We're all going to talk about this and and I'm going to go in deep. It gets real deep, and don't forget, I'm going to be doing some shows, just me, and whoever wants to be in there, whatever, on Random Files. We're going to talk about some different things like the Epstein files and different things like that. What's going on in our world, and talk about a different type of things than just like what we talked about on here tonight. It's going to be different for sure. But if you want to know about what's coming, economically, if you want to talk about things spiritually, physically, we're going to talk about all kinds of things. The Random Files. It'll be an outlet for you to go and unwind, listen to history. Sometimes we'll do lives and you can interact and tell me what you think. And I'll be right here in the studio and we'll get into it. And, it's not all going to be just paranormal, maybe some, but it's all tied in together. Right. So tomorrow night, we're going to get into some stuff tomorrow night. We're going to have the call-in show like always. So check that out. What'll probably happen is I'll be doing the Random Files on Saturdays, like either in the afternoon before True Crime Paranormal comes on, or maybe after True Crime Paranormal comes on. At just different times. It might be in the afternoon sometimes, or maybe in the evening. I don't know. We'll find time. We'll figure it out. But there's a lot of things that need to be said that don't really fit into this channel, so we'll put them on the Random Files. We're gonna do all kinds of stuff. And we're going to talk about the truth and the reality of the nature of our reality, if that makes sense. All right, guys, I'll see you. Good night. We love you.